result of a reincarnated 4-year-old aged up to 15 years residing inside a bovine belly for months on end for perfectly wholesome reasons.
Hello, and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I am Adam.
Adam from off of the Idaho crew.
That's true. Hyle, I'm so glad to be here. You know, we've, the last couple of times I've been on this podcast, it hasn't been in the, shall we say, best of times. In fact, I would probably say quite the opposite, that I've been here for probably the worst of times. But, you know, I'm so glad we're keeping with the theme, because when you came and asked me, I got just the Sublayer for you.
Yeah.
How about the giant pile of trash layer?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's perfect.
I thought it would be right up your alley because you don't wash your alley. We are nearing the end of Stinky Ape Summer. We have but one more Stinky Ape episode after this before that branding ends for yet another year. But we have made sure to save the last Bananza episode that falls under the season. We've made sure that's the stinkiest one of them all. Yes, we are talking about the Landfill layer on this episode of the Kongversation. So, really quick, this is still going to be spoiler-free beyond Sublayer 1001, or 1001, if you will. I am still clearing up Bananza's main story. I'm not quite done with it yet. I am past some pretty major spoilers, so I am no longer so in the dark, but just out of decency, respect, we are not going to be divulging anything. And plus, I don't know everything yet, and Adam does, and I don't want Adam to spoil my 135 hours right when I'm at the finish line. I don't want to be smacked in the face with something I'd rather not know. So we're going to just go right up to Sublayer 1001 and then shut our mouths until the next episode. But, I really enjoyed Landfill Layer. It's a change of pace for sure compared to everything we've seen before. And I remember playing this in real time and thinking, wow, you know, I can't wait to talk about this on the podcast in several weeks. And so here we are. Patience has paid off. It is a virtue, everyone. We're talking about Landfill Layer. Before we get to that, though, you know, if you are impatient, if you are absolutely revolted, as if you were standing in a big mound of trash, that the Kongversation, the premier Donkey Kong Universe podcast, has not yet waded its toes in the muck of spoiler chat for Bananza, which is surely the biggest event in the DKU in decades. Fear not, for we do have an antidote for that. We have a Kongversation Other Voices pill you can swallow. Now, maybe you shouldn't swallow pills you find in the landfill. It's probably not recommended by doctors, but Jeff, Dustin, and Mitchell all gathered around because they were sick of waiting, and they recorded a full-on spoiler chat for Donkey Kong Bananza, and we've made that available for all DK Vine patrons, the $1 and up tier. You have access to the Other Voices episodes. We're not making them live to the public. It's just a special little treat for our patrons. Hello, patrons. We've got some in our live stream right now because we do, of course, live stream these Kongversation episodes for our $5 and up patrons. Just a banana in my pocket is here. Freezer's here. S Monaco 14. They're here. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, Freezer says Adam is the second best Idaho crew person whose name starts with an A.
Oh, I thank you.
Yeah. Just a banana in my pocket would like to say this is my favorite layer. The theme and use of space are so unique, and the way the narrow size forces the camera to use the cutaway view is just so cool. The whole thing is just so dense, narratively dense too. Just brilliant stuff. I don't think we need to do the episode now. I think we could just wrap it up there. That's succinct. That's all you really need. God, I could learn a lesson or two from our patrons.
Honestly, I feel like they hit the nail on the head. Like, why are we even here today, Hyle?
You know, there would probably be a lot of nails hitting them in the feet in this layer. Like, they're barefoot, Donkey Kong and Pauline, and I know Pauline's up on Donkey Kong's shoulders, but Donkey Kong, he would look like something out of Passion from the Christ by the end of this layer. Like Miyamoto, I too worry about his feet.
Well, I hope he got his tetanus shot before RFK Jr. decided to take those away.
I mean...
Or else we'd be in big trouble.
He has no jurisdiction in the underground world. Come on.
Trickle down, Hyle. Trickle down.
Is that what that means? Oh, no. Oh, well, anyway, I will be recording my immediate reactions when I beat Bananza. I'm doing a video for it. Thanks to our patrons, I ordered a lovely new green screen because I don't really have a workable studio space right now, and so that's really held me back from filming myself on camera, like being a personality. I don't like to put myself on camera in general just because I like the focus to be on the games. Like when we're streaming games, I don't want people looking at my face because I'm like, no, look at all the details in the games that I'm wanting to point out. Like, it's a celebration of the DKU. It's not my vainglorious power hour, but on occasion I will get in front of the camera when it calls for it, and I think having a immediate reaction video once I beat Bananza is apropos. And it's been really what's more or less caused me to drag my feet here in the final world that I'm in, because I would have beaten it several days ago. One, had we not had that Nintendo Direct, which really just gave me a whole mountain of stuff to focus on instead. And two, waiting for my green screen to arrive. But it's here, and once I get through this episode and we get it up, I will beat Bananza. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got to make sure to do a couple test runs first, like what they used to do in Whose Line Is It Anyway, where they'd put Colin Mockery on a big green screen and just have random shit happening behind him.
Yeah, I know.
That's what you got to do.
I could have some fun with it. I do have a green screen backdrop in mind, though, so... but maybe I'll sneak in some horrific imagery to keep people on their toes. Who knows?
Some nice infected toes, a little peroxide. That's all you need.
That's my favorite bit right there. And, you know, the revulsion people have to that, I don't understand, because there's just something so cathartic about sticking an infected toe in peroxide and watching the bubbles.
Yeah, it's like a real ASMR, you know, it's like one of those like really soothing videos that you watch that just feels good to see, you know?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's getting uninfected, you know? You're healing your feet.
It is healing. I love those videos of cyst getting removed. And I especially love when the doctor like slices into it and there's all that blood and just like buckets of pus. It's honestly so relaxing.
You know, Hyle, normally I would chastise you about getting all gross for these past couple layers, but I think it's very appropriate for this episode, so I'll let it slide.
There's going to be so much ripped off dried skin in this layer. Oh my.
Yeah. we're ripping off the skin, we're popping some pimples, we're filling those diapers. It's all going down here, so get ready. It's one hell of a toboggan ride.
Yeah, it's the landfill layer. This is, of course, where all the trash goes from the layers above. Now, it's another medium-sized world, and I would say more than the resort layer, this is a direct sequel, a spiritual sequel, maybe. Or in my show notes, I wrote the congealed byproduct of Hilltop Layer, where, you know, Hilltop Layer was very, like, pristine and serene, and it was just this really nice almost transcendent world. And here we have, it's still serene in a weird way. Like, Landfill Layer, I didn't know what to expect when I dropped down here, and I was greeted with Landfill Layer. And I thought at first, like, this is going to be really eerie, because you are dropped in this just a big pit at first. And it's this open air, or as open air as you can be, 1,000 layers below the Earth's crust. But you are like dropped in, and you're just surrounded by these giant stone bananas, or like metal bananas, like banana shaped, like a canyon almost. And
structures.
You just have like the light straining through, and you look up and you see the light like pouring through the tops of these stone bananas, and you have no indication where you're supposed to go. It's just dirt. And I mean, it's pretty clear. You can use logic. Oh, they expect me to dig. It's Landfill Layer. But the first thing I did, because, I'm in this massive circular pit, and it just extends upwards, but you can climb walls in this game. So, of course, my very first thought was, there's obviously something hidden above, and I will not leave until I find it. So, I spent... That's some good thinking, because you're right.
Yeah, They got one all the way up at the tippy top.
Yeah, or close to the tippy top. There is a Banandium gem hiding up there, and you really have to strain your eyes to spot anything out of the ordinary. But yeah, it's called Top of the Heap, this Banandium gem, and I was very proud of myself, because I was like, okay, I think I can move on now, because I don't think there's anything else here. So, yeah, but Landfill Layer is obviously filled with the garbage, sediment, runoff, like secrets, shame of the layers directly above. Specifically, Lagoon Layer, I think maybe some of Hilltop Layer. I don't know if I actually spotted any Easter eggs there, except for the actual sequel, it being the sequel to Hilltop Layer, being there is a Fractone village deep below.
So I kind of want to talk about that for a quick second before we move on. You were mentioning how it's a very discrete parallel to the Hilltop Layer.
Yeah.
And it never really necessarily clicked for me that was what it was until you started mentioning it. And like, I can definitely see that, because one of the things that I noticed while playing through Hilltop Layer was it's a very nice, relatively small area, but it kind of has like a Stonehenge-ish feel to it with all the banana structures. And that's what also comes to mind when we were just talking about the entrance to Landfill Layer. When you zoom out and look at the map, you kind of got those Stonehenge-like banana structures up here also.
Yeah.
Just like smack down right in the middle of this, planet. And that's such a fun thing. So like, maybe it's these structures that fell from the hillside layer.
Yeah, maybe, but Canyon Layer is represented in a big way, actually, considering one of the smokestacks runs through the majority of Landfill Layer. Freezer Layer, Forest Layer, Resort Layer, and Tempest Layer all have little accoutrements and discarded signage and TVs and chairs, and it's fun trying to remember where everything's from as you go through it. And there's also some of Ingot Isle's trash as well, but I think it's mostly confined to one challenge course. So, yeah, all in all, though, this was a fun kind of revisiting of the previous 9 worlds or so, minus a divider junction.
Yeah, I would say it's very cool to see I'm not quite sure how everything from the upper layers would make its way all the way down here, knowing where the sinkholes are, but I assume that you can just think like, oh, there's more than one sinkhole in a sublayer. There's obviously probably all different kinds of routes. It's just that the sinkholes we're seeing just take us one after the other in perfect, continuity. But
Well,
I would have to imagine that or maybe you've got the residents of those other layers slowly going down each layer to, drop off their discarded trash into this layer specifically.
could be. I mean, you could just have misbegotten youth kicking stuff down into the various sinkholes, because when you don't have Voidco stakes plugging up the sinkholes, yeah, I mean, you could just kick something down one hole and then somebody takes it to the next hole. Like, I don't know. Like, it just might be. We don't even know what trash service is like in the underground world. It's possible that there are Fractones who gather up trash and just go down to the landfill layer and open up the bags and dump it out.
They got a system. Where they relay it to every layer,
Yeah. I did
kind of like a marathon.
I did strain my eyes a little bit throughout this layer because I was looking for potentially Easter eggs from past DK games, because I felt like the landfill layer would have been where Retro would have stuck something like a whole ass level from an arcade game or something. Like, you would have seen like the greenhouse from Donkey Kong 3, or the sort of cement, what people call the pie factory from the original Donkey Kong, or something like that. But I didn't see anything of that nature. I only saw Bananza specific references here.
Yeah. Obviously I'm not opposed to seeing if other DKC games would be referenced in this landfill layer, since, with the fossils and everything, we've been getting a lot of... The game has slowly phased out a lot of the more, just like regular fossils in favor of more, reference callback fossils. But I'm also kind of fine with this sublayer specifically not having much of that stuff, because I think it really adds much more to the world building of the sublayers here instead, because, like we talked about, you see so many other things from all the other layers just like discarded, somehow sunk down here. Mentioning the canyon layer in a big way, we've got this. Somehow we have this like giant smokestack that was able to like embed itself like pretty deep within this landfill somehow, just like completely cratering like right in the middle of it. And it's such like a cool thing to have to like go through while exploring.
Yeah, I will say, Andre in a live stream says Donkey Kong's old crusty sock is somewhere in this layer. Now that would have been the Easter egg I would have put in, but alas, nobody's as gross of a pervert as I am at Nintendo.
They were too scared to put in the cum sock. They were too scared to put in the Banjo-Kazooie fridge from DK64.
Yeah.
Why are we even here if they're not going to try, Hyle?
I know I said Bananza might be getting close to being my second favorite game of all time after DKC2, but honestly, the lack of a Banjo-Kazooie fridge and a lack of a cum sock really bumps it down. Probably below Star Fox Adventures because at least Star Fox Adventures had a bunch of gross old cum socks on the Great Fox in the opening.
Yeah, of course, guys are going to be guys on that ship. Of course, you're going to have cum socks there.
Yeah, all those pizza boxes, and they have the like pin-up calendar, and of course they're doing stuff with.
They've had some rowdy they've had some rowdy nights on there that they'd rather General Pepper not call in to debrief them.
Oh, that just
while
makes
they
it
were
hotter.
debriefed.
That just makes
Yeah.
just pull a Jeffrey Toobin and oh no, General, no, I just got an itch. That's what.
Just doing a little stretching, a little calisthenic work. Nothing too big.
All right, this is great. Speaking of the fossils, though, this is the last world. This is a very, very light spoiler, but this is the last world with one of these boring nature fossils that have no relation to Donkey Kong nonsense. They, from this point on, I think they're all Donkey Kong related. And
are you now, Hyle? Are you sure there's no iconic sea lily that's in the underwater levels of Donkey Kong Country 3 or maybe Donkey Kong Land 3 that we could point to and say, there it is. That's the sea lily. That's the alternate color from that game. It's right there. They nailed it on the head.
Maybe it's from Tropical Freeze, but I've already established during these Bananza episodes how much I hate Retro Studios games.
Yeah, the nerve of them to make a Donkey Kong game with Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, throw in Cranky. Oh my god, just makes me so... I mean, continue, Hyle.
No, I mean, I'm not going to relitigate all of that right now, but I'm here.
We do love the retro games. Tropical Freeze is you gotta catch me on a day, because I will go back and forth between saying that 2 is still my favorite game, between saying Tropical Freeze is my favorite. It's just such a beautifully well done game. But you know what? So is Bananza. And that's what we're here to talk about.
And Bananza has sea lilies, parentheses, alt color. So like the other alternate color fossils, they wrote a new description. It says, it drifted through the ocean in search of its next home. There are many colors of sea lily in the world, all of them elegant. Yeah, nice save there. They forgot to do a new fossil, and so they just we need a second description for sea lily. Oh shit, I'll just BS something.
They sure are.
Again, no spoilers, but there are fossils later on that would have been a lot more appropriate for Landfill Layer, and I'll just leave it at that. But sea lily, sure, it reminds us of more serene nature, picturesque landscapes than just mounds of dirt and filth.
And boy, is there filth.
Yeah, there's so much filth here, but you know what? Wherever there is the potential, there is life, and life is abundant in Landfill Layer. As I like to do, I like to point out the ambient wildlife that you spot as you go through these layers, and in this case, they are reused. We don't get any original little animals scurrying about, but we get the moles first seen in Hilltop Layer back, the little green moles with the crystal claws. Love those. And then we've got the little roly-poly insects back as well.
I love these little mole guys. Just looking at them, it's really interesting because I feel like they kind of have a blockiness that make them look a little bit more low poly than some other things in this game. But there's a real charm to how they look in this game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it's just so much fun when you're tearing through terrain, trying to get your smashing stats up, or trying to grind for treasure maps or gold, or, apple juice. I love drinking apple juice I get out of the landfill. Oh my god. But it's usually piss. That's the trick right there. I was like, oh, why is the landfill apple juice so much tastier? Oh, it's because it's already been through somebody and it's picked up all of their minerals and nutrients.
Oh yeah, I'd have to believe that this little guy, this little roly-poly, he's consuming so much piss and shit down here. But you know what? It's okay because it's just going to make him a lot healthier. It's okay for them to do it.
In the screenshot I took of the roly-poly, in my obsessive screenshot taking, it does look like it's wriggling around in fecal matter, like wet feces, because it's actually like, I think just wet dirt, but not quite mud. I forget how they classify the terrain. This would just be dirt, because there is mud a little bit lower, but it's a very little bit of mud where it's actually registering on your smashing stats as mud. So yeah, this is just wet dirt, but it looks like he is in Pooh Mountain in Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, you know what? That's a great area. Just Pooh Mountain can also be down here. There probably is a Pooh Mountain that we didn't see, you know? We don't see where the rest of the denizens of this sublayer take their big shits and piss. There's got to be like a big, old stinky shit pile somewhere down here.
Wow, we've almost referenced every single bodily fluid on this episode, and we're not even 30 minutes in.
I think this is a new record, honestly. I'm proud to be on this episode.
You're much more of a speedrunner than I am, that's for sure.
Well, still not as fast as some of the others in the Idaho crew. I mean, the funny thing about Landfill Air is I feel like, depending on who you are, this, like, whether you're like you or me, this could take like maybe 2 to 3 hours, just like sort of soaking it all in, taking all these little details into account. Or you could be like the other Idaho crew member, Andrew, Special Agent Ape, and you can instantly go Elephant Bananza form and suck your way all the way down.
See, I didn't want to use and abuse it. I respected Landfill Layer too much. And you say 3 hours, and I laughed internally because I was in this layer for maybe 4 to 5 days.
That's definitely more than 3 hours. I gotta give that one to you.
I mean, it wasn't consecutive. I'm not talking like I was in here 120 straight hours. Like I'm just being like as far as when I was playing the game. Like,
I mean, if you're there for 4 days, like where are you pissing and shitting?
I mean, I like to imagine that each getaway has a little like hidden compartment in the wall that has a toilet and a sink, maybe a little bit of a like overhead shower.
It'd sure be nice to see that here specifically.
Well, I didn't plan for this because I didn't know where I was dropping, you know. But I put Pauline.
Because like,
I did dress Pauline in the Tempest Layer clothing from the Style Shop, which is a raincoat, a plastic Mac with a hood to like simulate an elephant ears. But then I got down here and I was like, this is perfect because it's keeping her safe. I don't know if she's gotten all of her shots or all of her vaccines. Like, I don't know what they require in New Donk City or wherever the hell she is really from. So like, I am glad that I'm keeping her safe from all of this disease-ridden refuse.
Yeah, I sure hope you're right, because if there isn't anything to clean yourselves within that getaway, then you're going to have a long backtrack right up to the Tempest Layer for those hot springs before you have to continue on.
Oh god, I'm just imagining going back in the hot springs after this and all of the muck and grime just like pours off of you and like pools out into everybody's relaxing little vacation, little daycation.
The Tempest Sauna in Hot Springs has been condemned due to fecal matter in the springs. Please evacuate the Tempest Layer at once.
Oh yeah, and then you would really like, instead of everybody celebrating Donkey Kong and Pauline, there would probably be a revolt to get them out of the underground world ASAP.
It's like, I don't get it. I thought this was a place where I could shower.
Just Andre says, that's why the getaway beds are made out of floating metal slats. You just soil yourself while you lie there, and your filth falls down into the empty compartment below the bed. And just a banana in my pocket says, every poop is a floater on these beds. I
think we've got to move on. This is getting out of hand, even for the Even for the trash layer filled with shit.
Yeah, I knew this episode would be filled with discussion about debris and various droppings. I didn't know we were going to immediately veer into the scatological and the, like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I bet they're just waiting in pus and menstrual blood.
Listen, if we were getting into the weeds in the other layers that have no significant value to this stuff, then it was inevitable that we just go full force into this episode with these thoughts.
Is this what the DKU does to you? Is this what it does to the brain? Like, you talk about brain rot, like internet brain rot, but I think DKU brain rot just makes you a skeevy pervert who belongs 1,000 layers in the ground in the landfill, just condemned, exiled.
Just toiling in your own piss and shit and mud.
Toileting,
just
even.
Rolling around in. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God. All right. Well, there's lore as you drop down. So, every layer has multiple themes going on. The larger layers, I think, juggle a little bit more, like Tempest Layer have like 3 things going on, like elephants, weather, spas, and the medium-sized worlds or smaller worlds, however you want to define these types of worlds that are kind of the breathers, although you might not want to take such a deep breath in this one. They do a couple things, but this is mostly, the theme is trash. The theme is, this is the landfill of the previous 9 worlds. But there's a bit more going on as well, because as we mentioned, there's another Fractone village here. And as pointed out in our chat, and as I was going to point out, and as we will point out yet again when we get there, the Fractone village uses the same music as the Fractone village in Hilltop Layer. But the other big reoccurring element of this layer is the Eelevators. And the Eelevators, of course, we have known since Lagoon Layer, when we met the Lil Eelevator, and then we could meet the Mama Eelevator in Hilltop Layer. And there's been some other stuff with the Eelevators that I'll get into, but this is really where the Eelevators get fleshed out in Landfill Layer, and the lore of them starts to get sprinkled in, like the gross expulsions coming from above and landing on your head. So first, I would like to read the Saga of the Exploratone for Landfill Layer. This is verse 18. And it says, "There is something strange about the ground here. We looked closer and made a surprising discovery. Small scraps of debris seem to have settled into the layer here, creating an unusual sediment. Strange, wiggly creatures spend their days swimming through these odds and ends. They have long, undulating bodies." Yeah. When we asked, they told us they are underground eels. There was no sinkhole, so we didn't know where to go from here. But the eels dug a hole for us, opening a way forward. Thanks to them, our quest to find the origin of us continues.
So, something I really love about this layer is the introduction that this is the home of the Eelevators, which isn't just like really cool already. Just be like, yeah, this is essentially the layer where the Eelevators live and hang out and do all their stuff. But like, we're also introduced to a new Eelevator like almost immediately here, because we've seen the mama, we've seen the little Eelevators, and now we also have these tiny little baby Eelevators that are helping you get like more down into the landfill layer as they like eat away at the debris to help like carve a path for you, just like Exploratone was talking about. And these little guys are really cute, honestly. They've got like the real like dot eyes and like the buck teeth, and like they just go for it. They're just like chowing down on this dirt like it's like a nutrient for them, which, you know, it could be. And then I always, I love at the end of these where once you get there, you can high five the little guy and he'll just jump into a little eel hole and just give you a decent chunk of gold.
Yeah.
It's a very cool thing.
So these little like infant eels are called eelings. And they were actually, they've been seen before. They do pop up on occasion in worlds, but we didn't have any prior context for them. And I remember the first time I saw one, I thought, like, is this a fractone, like, taking the shape of one of the Eelevators? Like, I thought it was like they do, you're like, oh, I'm a giraffe, or I'm a zebra, or I'm an elephant. Well, I thought that's what was going on at first. And I didn't...
And I mean, here's the thing. We've also had, like, the fractones in other layers, just like the hilltop layer, where there's, like, a bananium gem you can get by following, like, a fractone that sort of sticks its head up and then goes back underground and pops up somewhere else. So, like, it could have easily been mistaken for one of those guys.
And that's the thing about Bananza that I really began to respect around this layer in particular. It's that there's so much in the game that is presented to you at first with zero context. Like, not everything is explained immediately, but it will eventually be explained, and you will eventually know what it's about, what the backstory is, how it weaves through the mythos of the underground world, and maybe even the larger Donkey Kong series and DKU. Like, I'm so used to stuff just appearing in past Donkey Kong games, your Jungle Beats, maybe Returns or Tropical Freeze, and not having any context for what the hell I'm seeing. I mean, so much of the fan animosity towards Professor Chops initially, beyond just that one render where he looks like a smug bastard from a DreamWorks poster, was the fact that we just didn't know anything about him, and he just started showing up, and he didn't even have a real name at first, and we were just like, why? Tell me who this guy is. And of course, we came to accept Professor Chops as one of our own, and now he's a beloved family member of the DKU, and if anybody on the outside says anything about him, they will get shivved. He's basically, I'm going to mention the Beatles, I'm sorry, he's basically our Ringo, where, like, yeah, we can make fun of him, we can have our laughs, but if anybody who's not part of our fandom comes after him, they're going to get got. They're going to wind up in the landfill layer, and by that I mean their discarded bones.
Listen, I don't see Lanky Kong or Chunky with a as an animatronic in a multi-billion-dollar theme park expansion.
You haven't seen my sex dungeon.
True. I'll have to book a stay there. But you know, Professor Chops is in more than one place over there at the theme parks. He's an animatronic, but he's also a delectable hot dog, which we've talked about.
I was just thinking about the keychain, and I was like, why are you going to eat the keychain, dude?
Hey, it's possible that keychain's edible. I haven't tried yet.
So... we also get a little bit more about the Lil Eelevators, the midway point in the Eelevator life cycle between the eelings and the parental eel. And we get this from just a, like, random lore tablet where it says, the Lil Eelevators are curious kids. They love music, and songs have been known to make them especially happy. If you ask nicely, they may also help you teleport to one of the tuning forks within their lair. So I just love that one of the reoccurring through lines of the DK series is music, is the power of song, is like the jungle rhythm or jungle beat, if you will. And even in the really confused buyout era where they were just trying everything with the Donkey Kong series, that was kind of a unifying element. And I just love how much it plays a part in Bananza, obviously with Pauline and, the Bananzas themselves, but also the Eelevators. You've got so much of this game dealing with resonance and, I think it's just absolutely brilliant in its cohesion. And,
there's a lot of really smart ties that they make, and there'll be a lot more to talk about in later layers. I wouldn't say there's much that relates to the music in this layer, but there is still like a little bit. I know there's a couple of little Eelevators that sort of talk about like finding the tuning fork, one of the checkpoint tuning forks in the trash, and like playing with that. So like you can still get a sense that even though it's not like necessarily their main thing, like it's already establishing that, these eels, they love music just as much as anyone else in the underground world. And like, they like hitting this little tuning fork and like listening to it resonate. Yeah.
And they wiggle, they dance. I mean, their whole thing, one of them will even ask you, how are your wiggles?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty sure in the past 4 layers where you get the Bananzas, they've also been there in like the crowd wiggling away, right?
And some of them, at least,
every time there's a concert.
Yeah, I remember, in the concert, and then even after I think the initial Bonanza, the Kong Bonanza, they'll even be just gathered around the Kong Elder, just like wiggling. But yeah, it's really cool to see like how integrated the different citizens and tribes of the underground world actually are, and of course that picks up as the game continues. And I mean, it's apparent here. We only have Fractones and the Eelevators here, but we've got all the garbage of the past layers that we're kicking around. And yeah, like, you have to dig down, but you do encounter the Eelines who will dig little paths for you part of the way. And so you keep dropping down into these like little pockets, and then you can explore the top side of the pocket and then keep digging down. And as you go, you will encounter peekaboo poids. Now, peekaboo poids were one of the earliest Voidco baddies in Bananza. I believe they were in Ingot Isle, I think. Or was it just
no?
Lagoon
They
Layer?
weren't in Ingot Isle. They were in the Lagoon Layer. They like disguised themselves as other things and popped out.
You just replayed Ingot Isle this past Tuesday on the Idaho crew stream, so it's been a while. It's been July since I've been there, but I forgot what Voidco baddies they encounter beyond the crocoids and the
So the Ingot Isle cave-in is really only like one crocoid at the end. But then the Lagoon Layer is where you get a more formal introduction to the crocoids, and that's also where the peekaboo boids also show up for the first time. Because that's where you have the boss. Also,
I just remember like you would encounter something that would pop out from a corner, and the prospector monkeys would be like, monster! And
and then you also get you get Pauline's very iconic when they start crawling all around you. That's we've been using that as a go-to for gross things recently. We'll just go
There's a certain element that with Pauline when you're encountering the peekaboo poids, because it almost elicits a jump scare reaction when you're going through these very like narrow tunnels and corridors, and you've got the cutaway view of Donkey Kong and Pauline, and you can't really like see where you are, and it's very claustrophobic, as it was when this first happened in Ingot Isle, like after the cave-in. And then, you know, you go too far on one side and peekaboo poids pop out. And Pauline will sometimes go, ah! And like shout in fright. And then that makes you jump because you're like, shah! Like ordinarily I wouldn't jump if peekaboo poids jumped out at me. But then Pauline has this outsized reaction and it puts me on edge. So it is just very much like a cheap jump scare in a horror movie, but I do like it. I do like, because that would be a natural reaction if a bunch of little, like a wall of squids approached you in a tunnel of trash. Yeah, sure, I would probably scream too.
Yeah, not only does she scream, she's like actively repulsed by them.
Yeah,
she wants nothing to do with these little freaks. Like it's like, you know, when I was a kid, I still was very empathetic to even like small little creatures like ants and stuff. I wouldn't want to hurt them or like see them squished or anything like that. Pauline, though, she can be a little psycho, you know. She doesn't care. She'll squish him. She'll just see like a little ant or maybe like a little spider, and first thing is gonna be just like, ew, squish.
Well, like, yeah, Pauline it's funny because the crocoids she's not afraid of. She's like bloodthirsty toward, like, these are reanimated skeletal humanoid crocodiles. She's like, finish it! And then with these, she's like,
hit him again! No mercy!
Yeah, with this, she's just like, we didn't mention vomit yet. There we go.
There we go. But no, I think that's a very fun aspect of Pauline, because it's also showing that like she's still like a little girl, so like she's not afraid of like these bigger baddies, but still like a little like squirmy, wriggly little creature is gonna gross her out, you know?
Maybe it's because the crocoids and the stompoids and everything, they're not trying to like climb on their face and like put their babies in their mouths.
Yeah, honestly, if a crocoid tried like crawling around on me and like maybe trying to like go inside my mouth, maybe then I'd be a little bit more concerned, because like that's pretty big. I don't want you there. Get out of here.
Well, as you're digging down, you know, there's lots of different like challenge courses and little like hidey holes, and I do like, though, the implication that Void Kong also had to dig through the garbage because he put up posters. You know, his posters that he just puts up proclaiming that the, you know, Banandium gems are his. And this is one of the earliest, if not the earliest, instances where we see the Surrender the Root poster, which, of course, the Banandium root was really established by the Elephant Elder in the previous world, as far as like laying out like what is in the planet core. It's the Banandium root, if you couldn't like put the pieces together beforehand. And so now we see the Surrender the Root posters, which portrays the big golden dome with the Banandium tendrils kind of surrounding it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of like the gold spikes that have been appearing throughout the multiple layers, and you've got like some onlookers that you see, which I think are fractones.
They're fractones,
like looking upon it. Yeah, I'm not sure if like this appears maybe in Tempest Layer also, because that's when you start getting the context for it. Maybe I missed something there, but like this does feel like one of the earliest examples of like seeing like a new propaganda poster, which like I think in the near the start of these episodes, I remember maybe there is an episode where someone was mentioning that they thought the propaganda posters were like maybe a little weird, but honestly, like I love it. I just love how self-centered like Void Kong is, that he would like try to make these propaganda posters. Like, not only is he coming into all these sublayers and just like actively destroying all these ecosystems and making things worse for their denizens, but like he's also like still trying to convince them that like to convince them to give him more info despite that.
Yeah, I did say that I felt like the propaganda posters were a bit derivative of the wedding invitation posters from Odyssey, and I just felt like it was them trying to come up with the Donkey Kong Bonanza version of that, and I was like, I questioned at the time if it really needed it. Honestly, though, I've come around on it, and a couple things happened, a couple things that I'm not going to get into yet, but one of the things that really sold me was we eventually get one of the pieces of hand-drawn art on the loading screens, and it's just Void Kong holding a bunch of the posters and putting them up, and I was like, all right, I get it now, and that's fun, because I really didn't know the character of Void Kong yet, and like, he's just, yeah, it fits his character, honestly. They do justify it eventually.
Well, something I like is that, like, not only is it, like, a self-centered thing to do and just, like, a way to try and, like, haggle with the denizens, but it's also, like, it's kind of like a desperation act, since, like, you've already been, like, kicking his ass and, like, defeating Poppy and Grumpy, and so, like, for him to just, like...
You defeated him once by this point.
Yeah, you've already defeated him, like, you've crashed his, like... trying to abduct Banandium gems multiple times in other layers. And so, like, it's, like, the only other act of, like, defiance that he can still do is, like, run around, like, just plastering these posters everywhere. Like, maybe an attempt that, like, a Fractone might come along and just say, like, oh, yeah, I can help you with that. I know where that is.
Yeah.
But it's just like maybe he'll find someone that's like not clued in, but it's like a real desperation attempt, you know?
Yeah.
He's getting desperate at this point.
It's also tried to, like, apply surface level logic in the underground world. Like, I'm gonna do this political campaign where, yeah, elect me the master of the Banandium root.
Which is interesting because he's putting this stuff in English, which I would think that the denizens wouldn't be able to understand because we have the banana glyphs in the underground world.
It's not
so, like, they might not even be able to read these posters. They might just see these posters and be like, what the fuck is this?
It's not clear to me how much they might understand human or Kong languages, like the surface languages. It's possible there is some understanding of it, considering they do get stuff from the surface and, like, lagoon layer, but I don't know.
What makes me think they might have a completely different language is that back at the beginning with the lagoon layer, you have one of the first salvager monkeys you talk to, when Pauline's still Adorak, you know, she mentions, like, that she's surprised that she can understand the denizens now. But, you know, obviously that they're not very friendly, which makes me think that, like, when she got, like, voided, it sort of maybe, like, or maybe just her inherent special ability.
Mm-hmm.
It gives her the ability to kind of have a universal language that she understands for everyone.
Yeah. But then, again, DK seems to understand all this stuff, too. So, I don't know.
It might be a Wild Thornberries thing where she can, like, communicate with animals, you know, but just animals.
Or it might be a Rugrats thing where if you're under a certain age, you just understand babies.
Yeah, she's eventually going to grow out of it, or she's going to expose that secret and she won't be able to do that anymore. Both Klasky Supo shows, very distinct references.
Yeah, that's why I went there. But I always wanted Rugrats to go on just long enough so Angelica wakes up one morning and can't understand them anymore.
She's like, what's going? I don't get it.
It's like,
what are you trying to say?
It's like those, like, tones that can only be heard by the super young, and, like, they'll play them in malls to dissuade shoplifting or, like, loitering by the youth. And, yeah, it's like, oh no, I'm getting older. I can no longer understand my baby relatives.
It's okay. They won't be babies for long.
Yeah, all growed up indeed. So anyway, you keep digging down through the dirty diapies, and there's a bit more elephant lore in here. It's right underneath Tempest Layer, so that makes sense. All the discarded oily rags from the masseuses and
Hyle, would I be able to read this glyph? This is actually one of my favorite pieces of context in this layer.
You know what? That would be perfect because I cannot read the banana glyph language, so I would just be speaking gibberish.
All right. Yeah, so I think it's been mentioned before, but, in some of the other layers, especially with the introduction of some of the Bananzas and some of the other layers, there are also sometimes, Bananza-specific rooms that you can enter for challenges where you are permanently in that Bananza form. And there's one here in the Landfill layer for the Elephant Bananza, and I think this has, one of the craziest pieces of lore and context that I've seen in this game. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read it now. What a discovery! I think my quest may finally be at an end. These ruins must be the special training ground of my ancestors, the ancient elephants of the underground. My mind is made up. I too will take this challenge. When I return, I shall update the slab with the records of my experience. Editor's note, the writing stops here.
Yeah.
So, we have a canonical death in this game.
Yes.
And we don't know what happened to this elephant or where his, the remains of his bones are.
I mean, maybe he just died of a heart attack or something. Not even, related to the challenge. He just, diabetes finally got him.
He actually did finish the challenge, but when he came out, he actually got hit by the giant smokestack that was falling down into the layer.
Yeah,
so it just he's just crushed beneath it.
It's a shame there is no elephant skeleton at the very bottom of this layer. That would have been a nice touch, but
he's the actual boss of the landfill layer. He just gets reincarnated with the golden goop, and you have to fight him instead.
Yeah. It's funny too because you think oh my god, what am I getting into when I go into this challenge course? But it's another destroying the discarded buildings of Ingot Isle challenge, the demolition thing that we had already encountered before. It's just another spin on that, but using Elephant Bananza specifically.
Yeah, I think this is the second one out of 3 that happen,
or maybe 5. No spoilers.
Maybe 5, maybe 8. But I know that the first one was in the lagoon layer right before the first boss. So I personally really love these little challenges right here where you have to destroy the building. It's I feel like they're able to implement a lot of little things, just kind of not just sort of a Wrecking Crew vibe, but also just a standard sort of arcade DK type feel with all the girders and stuff, because a lot of this is from the Ingot Isle Cave-In, and so I can only assume that a lot of it just, just like everything else, the smokestack, just sort of ended up drifting and falling into the landfill itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all very cheekily done because it makes it look like it's part of a city skyline, but you go and you look carefully and it's not actually buildings. They're just the Neptunite kind of metal, just looking like skyscrapers.
Yeah. No, I do really love how these destruction challenges always look, because not only do you have the girders and stuff from the cave-in, but they'll also add brambles, and one of the main parts about these challenges is if you focus more on the support pillars, you can get them down faster.
Yeah.
So it's kind of smart to try and get to those support pillars before destroying more.
But this was pointed out to me when I first discussed these on the Kongversation, and I was asked, did you, like, try to destroy part of the building before you even cross the starting line, because you can actually take out stuff from a distance and make your job easier. And I didn't do it the first time, and I tried it this time, and I took out as much as I could before I even stepped foot into it, and it did help a little bit. Even though you want to focus on the concrete support pillars, as you said, you can clear a not insignificant amount just from a distance, especially with the elephant suction power.
That's really interesting. I actually, as much as I abused the elephant bonanza, I actually never thought to do that. Like, I would always try to get, like, really close, and then I'd accidentally cross over the line and trip the timer. So, like, I wasn't good at, like, trying to destroy it before I got into the timer.
Not only can you use the suction power, but you can then create the terrain balls and then chuck it at various spots as well. So you can almost clear off the entire front facade of the building.
Yeah, it makes it just a little bit easier than the first go-ahead back at the start of the layer.
Yeah. But I did appreciate, like, I don't necessarily talk about every single challenge and objective and Banandium gem when I discuss these worlds with my co-host, but I wanted to talk about this one specifically because of that lore tablet. I just really appreciated that we had that kind of dark humor in a Donkey Kong game again.
Yeah, no, I was so excited to get to that part. I think it is, like, one of my favorite jokes that they make in this game. Just, like, it's not even, like, a question. Like, this elephant is gone. He did not make it. No matter what happened, like, something went horribly wrong.
Yeah,
for him to, like, never return.
And I also like that maybe this challenge course was originally something a lot more lethal and fatal until the Ingot Isle debris just rained down on it. Like, maybe the Ingot Isle debris is on this elephant's bones.
Yeah, it's possible he went into the challenge, there was nothing here, and then he just looked up and saw another giant building just completely crush him to death.
It's like that Donkey Kong Land commercial where Donkey Kong's eyes bug out as the Game Boy falls on him, but in this case, it's an entire building.
Yeah, just falling just, like, head first right into him. But, you know, if that was the case, then we would have seen the bones after the explosion of the building.
The base is still there, though. I think the bottom base is still intact, though, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not sure if there's a base or if it's just, like, Neptunite at that point.
I think there might be some girder left. And if not, you know, maybe it just pulverized his bones to the point of no recovery.
Yeah. So either whether he's underneath the smokestack or underneath the building, he's definitely been Wicked Witched at this point.
Yeah. But, you know, I sense spin-off opportunities. We get the prequel explaining what happened to the elephant. Maybe make that a nice 3-game trilogy. Just, you know, nice.
Ooh.
Nice
or maybe during Cranky's adventures, Cranky's side, maybe he does run into this guy right before the unfortunate incident.
Or, you know, Cranky doesn't have access to any of the getaways. Maybe he just sleeps in the bones. He makes a little, like, fort out of it. A little tauntaun kind of situation. Maybe he doesn't even sleep in the bones. He just, like, carves... The corpse is still intact, and Cranky just carves its gut open and slides in to keep warm.
Maybe he's it's possible Cranky's the one to consider for his death. Maybe he did something. Maybe he's the one that goaded him into the challenge. He's like, no, it'll be funny. It'll be real cool. I bet you can't do it.
You get to Cranky later in this layer, and he's just roasting chunks of elephant over a campfire.
He's like, hey, what took you?
Do you want the... You've tried the DK wild hot dog. This is the CK wild hot dog.
He's like, you know, if he had gotten down here faster, I would have had more than just the trunk and grizzle to give you.
Yeah, but it's, you know, I put it in a bun nonetheless. Here you go.
Maybe next time you'll be a little faster at your adventure.
Yeah, and by the way, stop asking where Ellie is. We don't talk about it. Anyway, you eventually...
Sacrifices have to be made.
You eventually get down to the main hub of the layer, and it takes a while to get down there. I mean, I guess you can just speed through, whatever, but, you know, if you're not looking for all the errant fossils and bananium gems, you're just going to drop down, and you get to Trashtopia. Trashtopia is the main Fractone village in Landfill Layer, or it is the Fractone village. It is the source of commerce and society within Landfill Layer.
It's a communal village, definitely. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it was the Fractones that got here first or if it was the eels. I'd have to think maybe the Eelevators were here first, and maybe they just, you know, they were definitely here first, and then the Fractones probably came along, and they're like, hey, company.
Yeah.
Of course, come in. We love to play. We love new stuff. We love trash.
Trashtopia utilizes the hilltop layer Fractone Village music, and, you know, like, looking around it, one of the Fractones says, it's so cozy, or we're so cozy here. And you're like, yeah, you're living, like, deep underneath a landfill. It's kind of got, like, a certain vibe. This is where the Phantom of the Opera would live, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It just, like, it is this little hovel in what's otherwise just complete repulsive waste, the dregs of society.
It's definitely got one of those secret underground layer sort of type deals to it.
Like, if I was ever wanted by the authorities, this is where I imagined I would be hiding deep within the sewers.
Oh yeah, after squirming all the way through that piss and shit, and, you know, with the smokestacks, probably like lots of smog and coal. You know, maybe it would actually feel pretty nice and warm to get down here.
Asbestos.
Maybe they've got, like,
I'm
hopefully
sure
they have
asbestos.
running water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Lots of asbestos. You know, what else? Maybe some anthrax. You know.
Well, considering it's called Trashtopia, maybe they don't have running water, but they do have lots of discarded bottles of the 1990s fruit beverage, Fruitopia.
Maybe they've got some discontinued Ecto Cooler down there.
Jolt
Who knows?
Cola, yeah. Surge. Lots of stuff you can
Mr.
wash your body with. They still make Mr. Pibb.
Yeah.
It's like Pibb Extra now, but yeah, they still make it. Anyway, Crystal Pepsi, that's another one.
Ooh, New Coke.
Tab Cola. I can keep going, baby. Slice.
Have we talked about a lot of the style shops in most of these areas?
I mean, what do you want to talk about with the style shop?
Oh, I mean, it's not the biggest style shop, but, like, I do like some of the colors that you can get for the fur dyes. There's a really nice, like, Twilight gradient that's, like, purple and pink. You've got a, Nintendo calls it a candy gradient. I think it's a little bit more obvious what it is, but very nice blue, white, and pink gradient, which I actually really love using. It's a very nice color.
I wonder if Donkey Kong would dye his fur with that and be like, come home and say, like, hey, baby, I did this for you.
This is all Kong for you. You've got the matcha gradient fur, which I don't know. I've never been a big green guy, so it doesn't do much for me. But you also have the shiny red fur, and It's probably not like a reference or anything, but when I look at the shiny red fur, it does kind of remind me a little bit of how Fire Flower DK looks in the Mario movie. Just like bursting with red.
I didn't make that connection because I still have a little bit of lingering, not trauma, that's way too strong a word. Let's just call it residual migraines from when the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, and then all of these much bigger influencers and voices than DK Vine started pushing the narrative that, yeah, they're obviously doing a Donkey Kong and Mario team-up game, and there's no Donkey Kong game in development, and they kept using images of Fireflower DK, and I was just like, that's not what's happening! Listen to me!
That's not what's going on! Stop!
Oh. Yeah, like, I brought this up with Jem, that the medium-sized layers, I know these, like, most people call these the smaller layers, but just to differentiate from things like the Divide and the Junction, medium-sized layers. Layers that actually have some fossils, even if it's, like, halved. But I do wish that the style shops here did have clothing to offer, rather than just the fur dyes for DK, because I would have loved britches that are just a trash bag that Donkey Kong is putting his legs through.
Maybe he could have like one of those cardboard barrels that you saw like back in the old days, where like if someone just didn't have any clothes, he could have that on himself the whole time.
Give Pauline the trash bag and give Donkey Kong the barrel.
I don't want to see her in a trash bag.
Donkey Kong returns Pauline to her grandmother, and he's like, I saved your granddaughter, and she's in a garbage bag.
Unfortunately, Pauline did not take kindly when you bought the used diaper outfit for her. She wasn't too happy about that.
So yeah, I'm just picturing now. She's not even wearing the garbage bag. She's just in it, and Donkey Kong just slings her to the ground, and then sticks out his hand for payment.
Just distinct lines coming out from the bag, and he's like, "Don't worry, she's okay.
Don't worry, she was breathing a few worlds ago."
I kind of lost track. Maybe she's still there.
Oh.
She's been awfully quiet the last couple minutes.
Just Andre says, I would have liked Donkey to get outfits other than recolored britches the same way Pauline does, but, yeah, like, I mean, he also gets different kinds of ties. Oh,
that could have been...
That would have been fun for the landfill layer. Like, he could have had a tie that's just a discarded banana peel that's all rotten.
Ooh, I was thinking like maybe like a cardboard tie or something, but that's also really nice. Just like
the dried up cum sock.
Yeah, there it is. We found a way to work it back in. This would have been killer.
Before any of you who have only jumped in with the Bananza era get all upset that we keep going back to the dried up cum sock, it's a Donkey Kong Country 1 reference, okay? Don't blame us.
It's been there forever, since the beginning, okay? You can't mess with canon too much, okay?
No.
That cum sock is iconic at this point.
Bananza respects canon, and so must we. So, yeah. But, like, I bought all of the fur dye before I moved on, even though I still have yet to use it. Maybe I'll make Donkey Kong sparkle by the end of this, but I would have to buy it before I moved on, which means collecting all the fossils.
So yeah, one of the things I really like about the this area of Trashtopia is, like we were discussing before a couple minutes back with the hilltop layer, how in that area there was a fractone that would like pop up from the ground and sort of like move over to another area, and you would sort of follow it for another Banandium gem. There's one here that is kind of sneaking through like between like some of the shops around Trashtopia, and if you follow it, you kind of like come up through like a lot of the dirt that you smash through, and you find this like little hidden like alcove where it's implied that this Fractone has been like gathering a lot of the trash from like the above layers that have fallen down and sort of made like a kind of like mini museum slash like showcase for all of it.
Yeah.
Like you see one of the dummy salvager monkeys from the top. You see like an ice cream board from the freezer layer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really fun little area, and I've got to imagine like maybe with how much reverence and respect they have for those old games like that we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if this was also like a cheeky little reference to Rare themselves, because like it's also called a rare treasure.
Yeah, so you get into this area, and the Fractone says, we found some rare garbage. And rare is lowercase, of course, but being the way my brain has the rot, I am so used to the wordplay. Rare, you know, always meaning or referring or implying the studio when it's invoked in a DKU game. And so I was like looking around furiously. I was like, okay, where are the Easter eggs? Where's the Banjo-Kazooie fridge? Where's Royston? And like I remember even screaming. I wrote in the show notes, where are you, Royston? And I didn't see anything. And I was like, oh, I imagine that's not what they meant or they were even going for. But then there is a Bananium gem that's hidden on kind of like an altar. You have to like punch through a little bit to find it. And then you get that Bananium gem, and it's called A Rare Treasure. Of course, Rare Treasures was the name of the book that Dark Horse was going to publish around or shortly thereafter Rare's 30th anniversary. It's going to be the big history of Rare up to Sea of Thieves. And then the book, for whatever reason, fell through and we never got it. And it's one of my most wanted possessions because an entire book on the history of Rare is like it is like the kind of publication I have always longed for. And I remember getting this Bananium gem, and I was like, oh, I guess that's where all the copies of this book wound up, is in the landfill.
They landed all in the landfill layer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, man. I hate to go on a tangent, because I know the Kongversation is... it's most known for always staying on topic and never going on tangents. But
we are stringent taskmasters here. We keep on schedule. And I use the English pronunciation of schedule because I pay tribute to Rare, unlike the Fractone here, who built a whole museum and said it rare treasure, and yet they didn't put in any Feiho or anti-gravity chocolate or fudge.
No Digger T Rock.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had the rock from Digger T Rock. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, like I wanted to say, like, I completely agree with you. The idea of getting just, like, a giant history/art book of, like, Rare stuff, just, like, that just barely eluded us, like, they solicited
it. They, like, we knew what the cover looked like. We were so close.
It was, like, within our grasps, within months of coming out, and it just all fell apart. I couldn't be more devastated at, like, a potential art/history book just completely falling through than that.
I remember the night it was, like, accidentally announced by Dark Horse, because I don't think they meant to. And I remember reaching out to Rare's community manager at the time, because I knew this book was coming, but I didn't, like, think it was supposed to be announced yet. I was like, can I talk about this? And basically word came back that no, don't talk about it because it's not happening. And I was like, what? Oh, crestfallen.
That's so painful to think that, like, even when it, like, leaked, it was essentially already canceled.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, you know, at least maybe it's in here in Landfill Layer. I'll just need to play another 135 hours digging for it.
That's true. Maybe once you suck up everything in the landfill layer with the elephant bonanza, only then does it appear as a special Easter egg.
Shaky, shake your body. So there's also, I don't know if you noticed these. There's these random like depictions, like cave art of fractones around Trashtopia. If you dig through the back rooms and whatnot, there's one of a fractone ascending a hill, and another of a fractone falling down, and then there's another one, and it's got the banana. I don't have the banana glyph translation by my side, and I really need to go back and just translate everything. So I'm not sure what the one says, but it's a fractone just waddling through. And then there's another one of just an enormous Banandium gem bunch, I guess. And I don't know. I don't know what is in silhouette underneath it. It might be fractones, but yeah, it's curious. And I was like, what is this depicting? Are these picture glyphs of the explorer toad? What am I seeing here?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at this. The one with the big banana sunset kind of almost looks like it's their own poster of Trashtopia. That, or it's it almost kind of eerily looks like the Fractone village from the hillside layer, with maybe just the giant banana structure in the back.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I can think that these others are kind of maybe their version of a safety poster.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
just sort of hey, be careful where you walk. You don't want to fall in the poo pile.
Yeah,
you don't want to slide into the rusty needle patch.
I mean, I imagine fractones are pretty impervious to syringes, but yeah, just watch out for all the scum. It's slippy.
Don't waddle through the pus-filled mire.
pus-filled mire. It almost sounds like a Donkey Kong Country stage.
There'd be a little bit more alliteration to that.
True. Yeah. I guess
they'd be able to do it better than me.
Well, anyway, speaking of pus-filled, and then segue into Cranky, but there's there's lots of little bits of lore and building up where some things are going to go with Bananza within Landfill Layer. So, first, I guess since I set it up, let's go to Cranky's Landfill rant. So, I love where Cranky is in Trashtopia. He's got his own little room. You have to climb up to find him. But it's there's just this little cozy, almost alcove of him and Ramby, and there's a discarded TV from the freezer layer, and various.
He's made his own version of Pauline and DK's getaway, essentially. Yeah. And honestly, it kind of looks nicer than the getaway.
Yeah,
at times.
He's even got forks and utensils hanging from Lagoon Layer. He's
got his fried elephant balls that he made.
Yeah,
just a couple of hours beforehand.
It really is a DIY getaway, but leave it to. I was gonna say leave it to the greatest generation, but I think Cranky wouldn't be that old. He's probably a boomer, and I don't want to give them too much credit. So, yeah, it is really fun, though. I've complained before that it feels like they gave up on the idea of Ramby cluing you in as to where Cranky is. But it just always cracks me up just to see Ramby standing there, looking so bored and just done with this.
He's just vibing with the Cranky. Hopefully Cranky's been feeding Ramby maybe some of those fried elephant balls, but I could also see Cranky just being a real bastard and just like eating in front of Ramby but not giving him anything, just being like, these are so good. Oh, they're so nice. They're so crispy. You would love these, Ramby. Oh man, yeah. But I don't have any left.
Yeah, I don't have any rhino treats, unfortunately. You're just a rhino. That's what you eat. You don't get, I was going to say human food, but...
Maybe if you could talk with a posh British accent, maybe then I'd reconsider, but sadly, you are just a rhino.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ramby, you pronounce it schedule, so you don't get any of my delicious elephant balls.
Maybe you'll think next time before you decide to be a rhino. Idiot.
Anyway, Cranky does his normal rant, his normal spiel, and then he switches up the last two lines. We know how it goes at this point. What's Cranky's landfill rant variant?
Well, I can tell you, Hyle.
Mm-hmm.
What a rotten crook.
Oh, no.
He should have shown me some respect. I'm a senior simian, darn it! It's like there's no room in that pea-sized brain of his for anything but selfishness and greed.
So I found this interesting, because, at this point, I'm playing the game. And by playing the game, I don't just mean I'm playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. I am playing Cranky Kong's game of the wordplay, the double meaning. He's seemingly referring to Void Kong, but there's always the potential that it could be applied to other characters. And here I noticed a little flourish in the dialogue. He says, I'm a senior simian, which, yeah, I'm a senior citizen, we got it, but if he's comparing himself to Void Kong, like doing the contrast, he could have said, I'm the senior simian between us, and he didn't. So I just pause, and I'm like, I have the cork board with the strings up. I'm trying to like parse out the conspiracy here, and I'm like really just stretching it out at this point, trying to make even the most innocuous of statements seem like it's just loaded with meaning. But yeah,
I gotta say, I love the wordplay with Senior Simian so much.
Yeah.
It's such a small little thing. Like, yeah, of course, it's their version of Senior Citizen, but like, there's something about it that's so charming for some reason when I read that.
Yeah, I remember early on when I knew like how top tier some of the NPC dialogue in this game would be. It was back in Ingot Isle where one of the prospector monkeys says, "Thank Ookness." And it's just so small and so dumb, but it just shows how well considered everything in this game is.
There's so much attention to detail. It's ridiculous. It's something that you're just so impressed by with every single sublayer you go to, There's just so much work even put into like some of the smallest areas, like even this like hideaway for Cranky. There's just so much to unpack.
Yeah. Just Andre wants to know why Cranky was voiced by Skeletor.
He's just because he's old. He's a skeleton himself.
He's wearing the elephant bones.
Yeah. He's decked out in the elephant bones. He'll probably become a pile of bones within the next couple of years himself, You can only be original Donkey Kong for so long before you're original dead.
I mean, I've been saying that about him for the last 31 years. So, he might outlive us all.
It's a real Grandpa Simpson conundrum where Donkey Kong's probably like hoping that any day now he just like kicks the bucket and leaves whatever he has left to him, but he just refuses to die. He just is living to spite him every day.
It was like Prince Charles under Queen Elizabeth. It's like, can I be king now? Can I be king now? Can I be king now?
DK himself is going to be about Cranky's age when he's finally taken over.
Yeah, and then he'll have it for about a week, and then I don't know, he'll leave it to Diddy in his will or something. I don't know. Which I'd be all for. I'd be all for Diddy being the lead, but I think most other fans of the series now would outrank me when not liking that. I'm just from that very specific era where Diddy was the man.
Well, I'm on good authority that, like, after the events of DKC3, like, he really schmoozed it up with Bazaar Bear, and, like, don't be surprised if the next ruler of DK Isle is maybe someone you didn't expect.
Yeah. Well,
there's a reason why he got the special treatment on the NSO icons.
I know, that was my NSO icon, or my Nintendo Switch icon for all the time up to Bananza's release when I switched it to a Prospector Monkey. So you go out around Trashtopia, and this is where the warp gong is, by the way. You got the warp gong for the lair, and, all the shops are here as well. But you can talk with some of the little Eelevators, and there's a lot of little Eelevators just hanging around because this is effectively their home in the underground world. And so you're going to have this nice chat. I think it's the first time you can really chat with a little Eelevator since Hilltop Layer, when they establish kind of the warp gong, or they establish, like, hey, you can go back now, to Lagoon Layer, just call my mom. But you talk with the little Eelevator here. I'm going to try to do the voice, okay? Or what the voice would be. I might get this horribly wrong because I don't do silly voices. I have like 2. Or I have 1.5, really. So,
all right, go for it.
Hello. Oh God, I don't know why I decided that's the voice.
Hello there, Mister.
Hello. And then Donkey Kong says, "What's this junk?" And the little Eelevator says, "Oh, I know. Mom told us all about it. She said it's things and stuff that fell down from the upper layers." And when they say we, there's a little icon of the little Eelevators and an Ealing. It says, "We love to play with this stuff, especially when it makes noise. I found that tuning fork over there. It sounds so pretty when it rings. Have fun down here." But then Donkey Kong, sensing the deep anguish in that horrific, vile baby voice, says, "You okay?" And the little Eelevator says, "I guess so, but, well, Mom..." And then you get the little icon of the Mama Eelevator. Little Eelevator says, "She's been kind of worried about Dad not coming home. He's always busy doing big things. You know this deep pit you're playing in? Oh, well, our Dad carved it out with a single roll. He's really strong."
I'd like to think that even though they don't have, like, professional therapists down there in the underground world, what all of us could use? We could all use a therapist, and that's why today's sponsor of the Kongversation is BetterHelp. If you go to no, just kidding. We unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, do not have any sort of a sponsored podcasts as of right now.
Right, that's why we can make all the cum, just sock and pus references.
Yeah, if we submitted this episode to BetterHelp and they listened in on it, they would be absolutely mortified. They'd be like, "Well, now we're just blacklisting you."
Right, and also recommending that you seek help immediately.
Please use this free promo code.
Cum suck.
You need it. Go to betterhelp.com/DKCumsock for your 3-month free trial of BetterHelp Premium today.
So, yeah, this is where we established there is a dad. And we haven't seen him. They don't have an icon for dad. It's this character just in the distance, in the peripheral of the story right now. But dad hasn't come home in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. And the silver spoons are hanging in Cranky's little hovel.
Yeah. To skip ahead a little bit further, upon exiting the lair, I know that Pauline remembers this conversation, and she makes mention of like, oh yeah, I heard there was a bigger eel down here. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys get really big. I wonder if this big eel I've heard about is also friendly. So, it's not really... At this point, we don't know whether that big eel is the dad or not, but, like, there's groundwork being laid for something.
Groundwork being laid, and the ground is also being dug through.
Yeah, you're the ground that's, been soiled through and other things that you're bursting through.
Yeah.
But, it's... But it's also kind of interesting that the giant hole, they do say that giant hole you go down is the one made by the dad, so he must be pretty big still also.
Yeah, when the little Eelevator was talking about its dad, like bragging about its dad, it just reminded me of Jeff's game, Uncle Dad. Where you, like, compare two things and you decide which one would be the uncle and which one would be the dad. And, yeah, I was like, okay, so what would be the Uncle Eelevator? Kind of like
the
fun
the Uncle
drunkard.
Eelevator's like...
You're responsible.
Yeah, he's the one that's actually shitting and pissing all over the lair, Mm-hmm. He's kind of coming home in a daze, can't quite remember things. You talk too loudly, gets a migraine, wants to just kind of sit down for a couple minutes.
Relatable.
Close his eyes.
So relatable. Oh my god. I mean, I am an uncle technically, so like not a dad.
I'm an uncle as well.
Yeah. I'm a terrible uncle because I just don't engage with them.
I would engage more with my niece, except for the fact that I live like 3 states away and like haven't seen her in about 7 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's about accurate to how I roll in my uncle duties. So, there's also some other stuff established around Trashtopia. Just like how amiibo functionality was first brought up within the game itself by Collectone in Resort Layer, we have a Fractone in Landfill Layer who pitches DK Artist to Donkey Kong and Pauline. And I was kind of surprised to see this because, like, you're actually bringing up DK Artist within the context of the main game. Like, you're actually saying it's canon. Cool. I guess it's something they might do in the getaways to pass the time when they're not trying to sleep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like the idea of the context either being, like, inside the getaways, there's just, like, a little chisel and hammer for, like, DK and Pauline to mess with. That, or it's like maybe the context is that anytime you boot up DK Artist, the context is they're coming back down here to the landfill layer to craft things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're actually just playing with garbage.
Yeah, just making a big trash snowman out of the heaps of garbage bags and like discarded tissue paper and broken glass bottles.
Yeah, and blood and what have all the fluids, all of our favorite.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned a couple of them in the past hour.
Yeah, goos and brews. So, speaking of the getaway, we do have one getaway in this world, which means we have one bit of Pauline getaway dialogue. Would you like to read Pauline's musings to a very frustrated and tired Donkey Kong?
I'd be honored, Hyle.
Hey, DK, you awake? Do you think all the eelings become elevators when they get big enough? No wonder they grow so much, the way they gobble everything down. Maybe the soil here is actually good for you, just like bananas. Wait, promise me you won't start eating the dirt, DK. I mean it.
So, I like to do this thing with this game. You know how nostalgic and how much I really just love, like, looking at the full history of something. And there's been so many surprises in Donkey Kong Bonanza that I like to imagine, what if I took one of my 4,000 plus screenshots of this game and showed it to us a year ago without any context? Just like, hey, I sneaked this out of Nintendo EPD. This is a screenshot from the Donkey Kong game. And I just showed it to us without any context. How would we react? How would we make sense of it? And one of those screenshots that I immediately glommed onto is I would love to send this back 365 days into the past, was this screenshot of Pauline's dialogue. Just this black screen that says Pauline, and then underneath it says, wait, promise me you won't start eating the dirt, DK. I mean it. Be like, here you go. It's from the new Donkey Kong game.
Man, I know they flanderized DK, but they just made him a complete food monster. Now he's just eating the dirt off the ground in order to gain sustenance. What a low we're at today.
He's the weird kid in class now who just spends recess sitting on the ground eating dirt.
His head just bobs directly into a big old mud pile, and just as the elephant Bonanza, you just see it completely suck inside everything. Just
yeah. So yeah, because this line is just, it's funny, and it's it does point out the absurdity that Donkey Kong has just been eating rocks with all these Banandium gems. And, it's well, why couldn't you just eat the dirt then? But don't start doing that. And yeah, but it's fun in context, but out of context in the pre-Bonanza world, I think this would have horrified us. we would have been so worried. Not only does it say Pauline is a character in this game, it's what are they doing here? But two, Donkey Kong is a just dumb dirt eater.
Oh man, they really let us have it with this game.
Yeah. Oh god.
This is what Nintendo really thinks about us, huh? Just a big bunch of dirt munchers. just stupid pea-brain dirt munchers who have no taste at all. Just eat whatever garbage is thrown out. That makes me feel good.
Slow down. I think this is a Game Informer review of one of the Donkey Kong Country GBA remakes. It sounds word for word like what they wrote about those games in the aughts.
It's possible it was also their review of Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Yeah, or really just any game we loved for about 15 years or so, yeah. So
really any post-buyout.
or retroactively pre-buyout. I mean, they went for the jugular with all of them. Another piece of lore that I really found cool, there's another lore tablet in the banana glyphs that you can read, and I assume it's not written by the Explorer Tone. It must just be written by a random traveler, be it a Fractone or somebody else who was traveling down the underground world, and they wrote, "The singing blusterwing we saw soaring over the Tempest layer. That mysterious songbird had the same blue, stony skin as the Eelevator. Perhaps they share a common ancestor." And I was like, Oh, like, obviously, I was noticing that. But I remembered then back to my first impressions of the Eelings and how I thought they were Fractones, like mimicking the Eelevators. And then I started thinking, Eelevators, Blusterwing, Fractones. Is there a shared heritage there? And I got really, really intrigued by this. And I just, like I said, Landfill Layer is where I really started to see the long game of Bananza, where even stuff I thought that wouldn't be explained actually has a deep, rich history, and they're just very, very judicious in how they roll it out, and they're not just going to do it Banjo-Kazooie style when you encounter something new, and it's like, hi, I'm Mr. Eeling, I do this. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but, like, I'm so unaccustomed to a big DKU game like this actually rolling out the narrative in a very deliberate, careful manner.
What I really, truly love about this game is that they give you just enough context and just enough, like, lore drops without just blatantly telling you, like, just out in front, like, what means what. Just enough for, like, the true sickos like us here at DK Vine to just have conversations like this for, like, much time to come, you know? Because, like, yeah, you know, we could sort of have a conversation alone on the conversation that lasts, like, 3.5 hours about who is first, you know? Is it the Fractones that are descendant of everyone? Is it the Eelevators? Is it the Blusterwing? Like, all of these have such a common connection, but, like, where is the origin? You know? Who is the origin?
Yeah.
You know, probably has something to do with the Banandium root, but, like, how does that originate from these, like, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
I mean, I don't know what word you're looking for, but I get it. You know, I understand.
Yeah.
You don't need to summarize it all in one, like, punchy 2 or 3 syllable phrase.
Material. There we go.
Material. Okay. Just a banana in my pocket says, Bananza is so confident in its presentation and trusts the player to engage with the world and story while giving them the freedom to run past it all. I know that emboldens the punch thing, no story chuds, which are, I believe the chuds were subterranean, so good reference. But unlike Returns, Bananza isn't reductive for the sake of accessibility. And I don't think we need to slander Returns at all in this podcast. I think that's out of nowhere. That's out of pocket, just a banana in my pocket. But
there's nothing wrong with a good Super Kong every now and then.
Like, I think there was that, and I was thinking about this today, because I'm trying to think about some of the words I want to put in my summary video. And it's going to be off the cuff, it's not going to be scripted, but I do want to, like, what I can talk about Bananza that I already know I want to say, and why the game is so impactful for not just me, but our fandom. And I think it's because, and this predates Returns, I mean, we saw it in Jungle Beat too, there has been such a deliberate economy of storytelling with the Donkey Kong series post-buyout. And not always, but it does feel like a lot of times they would strip things down to the bare essentials, and it would almost be like what I call sometimes derogatively video game design 101, where we are just going to do it at the most basic level. And it's not necessarily true, and it's kind of hyperbolic, because Retro did have a wealth of details and environmental storytelling going on, but then there would also be, like, greater context that we wouldn't get. Like, my go-to example is the banana sprites that you encounter, the flying bananas that you have to chase that just pop up, and it's just like, what are these? What relation do these have with anything? We are never given any answer to that. And you're like, well, why have those when we already have banana fairies, banana birds? Like, why are we just inventing something completely new except for the fear of incorporating old stuff where it makes sense? And with Bananza, not only does all the new stuff have a justification for it, and is so seamlessly integrated with the pre-existing world of Donkey Kong from the arcade, from Rare, from Retro, that like you've got that greater harmony, but also Bananza so confidently like builds up the new stuff in a way that you gradually learn about it and you are excited to learn more, and that thrill of discovery invests you all the more. I mean, we're a different kind of breed in this fan community and on this website, so I can't say that like even everybody playing Bananza would feel this way. But oh wow, like I didn't think when I saw those Fractones in that original Bananza trailer that I would be this into their backstory by this point. You know?
Yeah, it's so good. And you were mentioning like the connections between like, oh, you know, having the magic floating bananas as opposed to like the banana fairies and like the banana birds, but it's like it's kind of interesting because like I feel like when the retro games do stuff like that, like I do like when they do stuff like that, because the thing is with me, I could easily see the floating bananas sort of as having some sort of significant connection to both the banana fairies and the banana birds, kind of like how we're talking about, you know, what's the true connection between, you know, the Eelevators and the Blusterwings?
Sure, but like Bananza actually calls it out. Like we just read this lore tablet that's like makes mention of it and makes you wet. Like it doesn't spell it out for you here, but it does make you start thinking.
Yeah, like I guess in that way, like it's very easy to think like, oh, there's a connection between these and maybe like the special Kong temples in Returns. But it's like you'll never run into a level of Tropical Freeze or Returns, as good as they are, that say, yes, this thing you were thinking about, there is a connection between them.
And to be fair to those games, there's a lot more storytelling that a 3D platformer affords you versus a 2D platformer, although that is the benefit of having more characters on the map screen other than just one shopkeeper. Again, sometimes the economy of storytelling of game design does inherently limit a lot of the stuff that makes a game enjoyable. If you're trying to strip it down to the barest base elements, then you can't celebrate the world as much. That's just my opinion. Others might disagree, and others who just absolutely do not care about any of this stuff and just want a fun mechanical experience. Bananza also provides that, and the retro games provided that. I mean, some of the greatest 2D platformers ever made, but it's just, you know, what I'm looking for is a greater understanding of the world, and I think it was just coming from the Rare era, which did have that, for its time at least. It was some of the most in-depth kind of examples of that, and then kind of getting that stripped away, and then Bananza goes even beyond what Rare did, and I'm kind of in a stupor as a fan because I never thought we would get this again, get this kind of storytelling in a Donkey Kong game again that not only like makes you so interested in all the new stuff, but it also incorporates all the old stuff in a really interesting way and makes it just this seamless whole, and also treats Donkey Kong with such reverence that the story it's telling, while funny and, you know, a little bit unserious. It also has a lot of weight to it and reverence. And like, I think, even in Landfill Layer, that's becoming apparent that they are treating this story seriously. And it makes you, the player, feel like, yeah, there are stakes here. Like, there's a lot happening and a lot riding on Donkey Kong and Pauline succeeding. And I think that's just amazing. I think that Bananza is the best told story ever seen in the GKU.
Yeah, it's crazy because like it's always something to talk about, like the Donkey Kong game we'd like to see and how we'd like them to handle things, and it's like it's kind of crazy how close to how spot on this game does get, depending on what you want out of that game. And it's just one of those things that, EPD themselves are so good at, that just such, just such that little tiny attention to detail that you see in like all the Mario games always. It's like to finally have that again in a Donkey Kong game is just so nice and rewarding after so long of a lot of the series being like, well, we can reference a couple things, but, don't expect too many references. And it's just to finally get that game that's just like, no, here it is. Here's all the lore. Here's a bunch of reasonings and explanations. Here's just enough that we can let you craft like your own theories. Mm-hmm. Here's a story. Like, here are these characters. Here are their motivations. Here's like even like the small little eccentricities of it. Go crazy. They just go absolutely crazy with all of it.
And even if you were to remove the greater context of the Donkey Kong series, I remember it was Canyon Layer, I think, where I was realizing, I'm just invested in Bananza's story at this point. Like, even if this wasn't a Donkey Kong game or a DKU game and I was tricked into playing it and I got this far somehow, I would be just like in it for the long haul at that point because I was interested in what was happening. And I was like, even if this somehow takes a wrecking ball to everything I understand about Donkey Kong, I still want to see how this plays out because I'm invested. And that's when I started to realize, whoa, Bananza's actually doing some stuff. And I think it was Landfill Layer where I realized the extent of it. But by this point, I was no longer worried about it taking that wrecking ball to Donkey Kong. I was like, no, like, I think they got this. I think they're going to stick the landing. I don't know. That's kind of a tangent, but it is something that really, and maybe it was just the fact that I spent 4 to 5 days here and I had a lot of time to ruminate as I was working on maxing out some smashing stats, Adam. So those of you who've been listening to these Bananza episodes know my eccentric need to always to always max out 3 smashing stats.
I think we're very aware of you smashing out on this stream, Hyle.
I smash it, I mash it, and I always have to get 3 lines of terrain all the way to the very end. And what is it, like 100,000 cubic meters or something? Is that the measurement?
I think so. Yes, I do believe it's 100,000.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just see a bunch of zeros, and if there's no commas in there, I just don't bother counting. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll smash it. But so with Landfill Layer, it's really easy to max out dirt and stone. And of course, if you use the Elephant Bonanza, I imagine it's just very, very easy to do those too. But other types of terrain are not as abundant as dirt and stone in Landfill Layer. So I had to, similar to my struggles in the Divide, I had to get a little bit creative. And so what I did here, I was like, I could just smash a Fractone repeatedly to get the Fractonium up, but I felt bad about doing that again. That I did that in the Divide. So I was like, I haven't smashed out. I keep saying smashed out, so I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to invest in smashing out as the shorthand for maxing out my smashing stats. I haven't smashed out Crystal in any of the layers yet. And I think it was Canyon Layer where Pauline had one of her getaway intrusions in DK's sleep cycle and said, Donkey Kong, I love when you smash the crystal. It looks so beautiful when it gets pulverized to smithereens. I want you to smash it all. And I didn't smash it all, and I felt bad about it. So I was like, Pauline, I'm going to make it up to you here. We are going to smash out our crystal stats. Now, there is crystal in Landfill Layer. There is actually a crystal vein that runs through the top of Trashtopia. I think it's above, I want to say, the chip exchange. And if you follow this crystal vein down, it takes you down to this hidden chamber with Banandium gem. But I was like, okay, I'm going to smash this crystal. And it doesn't get me that far. It's a lot of crystal, but it's not enough to smash it out. And so I would then save, and I would exit the game, and I would boot it back up, start the play session over, and you can reset your terrain too. But I don't know. I like I don't like resetting my terrain because it just feels unnatural. So I like exiting the game and going back into. Again, I'm a freak, but I did this about 10 times to completely max out the crystal. Thoughts?
You know what? I think I used the elephant and I quickly got the stone, dirt, and mud. I don't think I actually spent multiple days on this crystal vein.
Okay, it was only like a day and a half for the crystal, okay? To be fair. And also, like, I couldn't find that much mud. Maybe it was in the upper layers. Maybe it was, like, in where the peekaboo poids were hiding, and I was just, like, I don't want Pauline to squeal. So I just focused on the mud around the bottom of the crystal vein, but then you run out of mud, and you're like, well, no more mud.
I never even realized it was crystal to begin with. It always just kind of looked like glass, which, not out of line for a landfill layer. Just like, yeah, there's a bunch of glass here. I'm going to shatter all the glass.
Donkey Kong is going to walk over the broken glass with his bare feet and get his feet all bloody. Similar to when you pull off dried skin and you start peeling off too much skin and then you start pulling off fresh skin and then you've got bloody strips on the bottom of your feet.
Ew!
And then you step in the piss and the shit, and then you get an infection, and then you die by the time you get to the next world, which is a really great world, and you shouldn't die. But, I mean, that's where I would want to die, that layer in particular, if I'm going to die in any of the layers, because that would just be like, I've hit my peak life experience. Bye. Anyway, I maxed out the crystal. Aren't you proud of me?
I'm so proud of you, Hyle.
But also,
there's not everyone can say they did that.
But also, this is what's so great. When you smash the crystal, the large crystal veins, you can get a lot of fun shapes that come out of them. And I inadvertently made a shape that looks like a giant glass dildo.
Are they selling this on the Nintendo Store, like alongside like the Rosalina storybook? Can you buy the Donkey Kong Bananza crystal vein penis?
I'm hoping that that's going to come, but I also have to save up $100 for that Virtual Boy headset visor. So,
I mean, to be fair, it'd be coming in more than one way.
Yeah, but I did share this on Blue Sky the other night because I was gathering up all my screenshots from Landfill Layer for this episode, and I saw this, and I was like, I'm going to share this now. Donkey Kong. Because Donkey Kong also just looks so miserable holding this giant glass dildo, and he just looks like, what has my life become? 1,000 layers under the earth, and I have a big glass penis in my hand. This is just the worst.
I'm got a big glass penis. I'm walking through piss and shit. I've got a little 13-year-old girl yelling at me every 5 steps I take.
It's kind of inappropriate to be holding it when you're babysitting as well. Like, show some tact, decorum.
He's like, I don't even have a good use for this.
He shows back up wearing the candy fur dye, and he drops he drops it on Candy's feet, and it's like, here, this is for when I'm away again.
He's like, I don't want to make any assumptions, but I've never seen Chunky with a girlfriend. Maybe he'd be into this stuff. I'm not one to judge. I'd be supportive if he came out, but maybe I'll just try to test the waters by sending him a gift.
I don't know if that would be testing the waters so much if you drop an enormous 6-foot dildo on somebody's feet and be like, you interested?
Can't say you didn't drop some pretty big hints the past couple of months.
So anyway, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that, it's just like, oh wow, this is like really, really like inadvertently perverse in an E10 game. This is DK Artist After Dark.
It's the manual version.
There's also a barrel cannon that is up at the top of the crystal vein, and you have to like pay one of the constructones to like make it for you, but it will blast you up through the smokestack, and it will also enable you to backtrack within the smokestack where this layer's bonus stage is hiding, one of the golden bonus stages that plays the classic bonus stage theme.
You've got the bonus stages, and I think they even they toss in some of the lilies in there.
There are some fossils that I think you mostly get them when you're blasting up. You just break through them. But yeah, when I was like looking for all the stuff and I was doing the hand slap, I could see the bonus stage platform or pad in the smokestack, and I was like, how do I get in there? And it was driving me just mad because I wanted to get in there, but I didn't see any way, and so I just had to let it go for the longest time until I was able to activate the barrel cannon.
Yeah, I love going through that smokestack. We talked about it a little earlier in the episode, but it's just so cool to have that context of like this giant smokestack just somehow like collapsed and fell all the way from the canyon layer down to here, and then like sunk in even further to make this just like straight shot right down the middle just to get lodged in there. Then not only that, but being able to shoot yourself up through it and then just go back through it by yourself and just like take that all in and like see how much like gross dirt that this thing has collected over the years is so fun.
It's a very fun barrel cannon sequence, and I also posit that this could be the explanation for what happened to all the giraffes. Like this huge industrial accident that resulted in a smokestack collapsing down 700 layers. Yeah, all the giraffes were inside at the time.
Every single giraffe was inside this smokestack when they made it, and now they're all gone.
It's like
just like the elephant beneath it.
You hear these stories about these like college house parties where everybody gets on a deck and then the deck collapses under their weight and they all die. And it's what happened to the giraffes. They were having a little raver in the smokestack.
That's one hell of a kegger, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
they probably could have used the crystal vein penis.
God, I also
that's what you call an initiation.
I also wish that I also like how you call it the crystal vein penis, because it really I'm imagining the detailing on it now with all the veins and what have you. So I would have liked some giraffe skeletons down here. That would have been a very nice touch.
Oh, those bones have well decomposed in our mulch by now.
Maybe, but maybe
You are walking across the fine dust of premium grade, like giraffe bone at this point.
Yeah, maybe have a character there like who's like snorting up the giraffe dust, and they're just like, ugh.
What do you want? I'm busy.
The Fractones can't get high off syringes, but boy, the giraffe dust, they can't get enough of that. One other thing around the crystal vein. I'm sorry I keep talking about the crystal vein, but there's a lot of interesting things around it. So
it's a cool vein.
It goes into the area where the void stake is that takes you down to sublayer 1001. But also, I noticed something up above. I don't know if you or any of your Idaho compatriots noticed it. There's this big, like, cage that I noticed, and I noticed glue gum underneath it. GLOO gum. And I was like, what's in that cage? So I threw some of the crystal at the glue gum, and I caused the glue gum to be weighted down, and out dropped, I can't even count how many crates. Like, it just rains crates from this cage. And yeah, you got like bananium chips and stuff inside, and it's this really wild sequence of where they just hid something like a dozen green crates.
Wow, that'd probably be a great spot to farm bananium chips.
It was, and that's also what I did while I was multitasking when I was destroying the crystal, because this is also why I paid not to reset the terrain. I was also farming bananium chips here and gold. So I got it up finally. No pun intended with the crystal, but I got up my bananium chips to. I think this is where I got it up over 3,000, or maybe just over 2,000 here, and it would be a later layer where I really developed an efficient bananium gem farming, or bananium chip, farming situation. Yeah. So this is where I broke 2,000, and it wouldn't be later till I'd break 4,000.
That's a lot of bananium chips.
Comes in handy, let me tell you. You don't want to ever run out.
You will. Well, I guess without saying anything, I feel like you will eventually run out the further you get.
Okay, well, we'll see. So anyway, let's talk about the boss. And I'm not talking about Bruce Springsteen, even though New Jersey has some of the finest landfills in the continental United States. That's not a knock against New Jersey. They're just
it could be, though.
I mean, I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, I'm going to make fun of the state because that's what people do. It's like, yeah, New Jersey is adjacent to New York, so people make fun of it because New York has New York City. But you know what? New Jersey is the Garden State, and it's the Garden State because they know what to do with their trash.
I'm not going to lie, Hyle. I thought you were about to make a joke and call it the garbage state. So
No.
I'm glad you didn't.
David, who was just on the Tempest episode, is from the great state of New Jersey. I would never. Anyway, also, they don't let you pump your own gas, though, so you know what? Hell with New Jersey.
Fuck it. Who cares?
The garbage state, indeed. The boss of Landfill Layer. So, you will talk to another little Eelevator who really sets up the dread for this. He says, hey, you guys, do you know what that thing is? And it's a void stake. And the little Eelevator will say, when I tried to touch it, Mom told me to stop. I really don't like that thing. It makes such a creepy sound. So, yeah, it's like, oh no, what monstrosity lurks beneath? And then my mind's starting to reel, right? It's like their dad is missing. Oh my God, is their dad going to be torn to shreds in the basement of the landfill layer? Like, am I going to walk into some horrific crime scene and then it's going to be up to you to break to the little Eelevators that daddy's not coming home?
You're gonna get to the big eel bones right next to the elephant ones?
Yeah, I don't know. I was really worried about this. And so while I was farming all of these bananium gems and making crystal dildos and what have you, I was like hearing that creepy noise, that creepy sound from the void stake. And I was just like, oh God, like, I wonder what's down there. And this went on for a day and a half, mind you, you know? So I really built up the anticipation for what was down here. And of course, then I was flashing back to that Bananza Direct, and I remembered a sequence with an enormous elevator in that. And I was thinking, oh, wait, that's right. Like, that was in the pre-release info. Oh God, I was bracing myself. Oh my God. And you fall through and it's just Grumpy Kong.
Can I say, before we move on to the actual full boss, I just want to say, during that conversation with the little elevator, when it does the overhead shot of the void stake, the lights that are hanging down are banana-shaped lights. Just like one of the many very fun, like, small touches that this game once again does.
I should point out there are banana-shaped, like, fairy lights just hanging down. So it gives the whole Trashtopia this kind of like garden party vibe, but it's a garbage party. Anyway, New Jersey. So, Grumpy Kong, you see him from the distance, and you're like, oh God, you know, this guy again. And then you approach him, and then the cutscene starts. And he's like, can you do a Grumpy Kong voice? I don't know what voice Grumpy Kong. It's either going to be Baby or Bill Clinton, if I do it.
Oh, gosh. I can try to do Grumpy Kong. It probably won't end well, but let me do this. About time you showed up. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
That's my Grumpy Kong.
And then he's got the
Didn't say it'd be good.
The big void Kong-shaped doohickeys. What are these doohickeys called?
I don't know. I think they're just like... I think they're just like a void stake like all the others, because it's not exactly like it, but it's like you still like smash through them to open up the next area to like the sinkholes.
Yeah, but it's like a void stake with some sort of like AI, artificial intelligence, or some sort of like mechanical heart inside of it. It's like something that like animates and brings to life these boss monsters. So like I don't know.
It definitely functions as a stake, but like we've seen like, for example, like what a character looks like when voided, like Pauline. It's not necessarily like a voided version of them. Like maybe it's got like some sort of like magnetic power, hypnosis, maybe kind of like the
magnetic hypnosis. That was my second guess.
Kind of like the tech that they used to hypnotize the Blusterwing in Tempest Layer.
Yeah, maybe. But in this case, you see all of these peekaboo poys getting drawn to it, and you're like, oh no, we're doing this again. And sure enough, the boss is called Pika-Bruiser. Pika-Bruiser, of course, was the boss in Lagoon Lair, and we are doing the tried and true Donkey Kong series method of reusing early game bosses now in a slightly harder variant. Although I will say that I think that while Pika-Bruiser is delightfully dumb as a name, they could have just gone with Rika-Bruiser, because that would have been appropriate for the trash world. Like, oh, this is a Pika-Bruiser who reeks.
Yuka-Bruiser.
So the Pika-Bruiser is a bit more challenging. Did I use the elephant Bananza to just strip it clean? I forget, but it wasn't that hard. I mean, more challenging than the Pika Bruiser, but it's not saying much.
It's not by much. I was gonna say I can't even remember what I did for Pika Bruiser. It just happened so fast. It was either I sucked it up and tossed a bunch of shit at it as the elephant, or I just did what I did exactly in the Lagoon Layer, where I just went Kong Bananza and just punched it to death.
Yeah. I definitely exploited and abused the Bananzas for sure, and it didn't take much time. I feel like all the boss fights in this game, I struggled to remember what I actually did. And I mean, maybe that speaks to the boss fights being one of the weaknesses of the game, not very memorable, but also just speaks to, like, I go into a frenzy when the bosses show up, and I'm just like, my adrenaline is pumping, and I'm just like, I'm going for it. And so, like, once that adrenaline wears off, I'm like, wait, was I in a fugue state? What happened?
I mean, as much as I love this game, like, I'm willing to admit that the bosses are not really much of a threat at all. And, you know, they don't have to be hard, but at the same time, it's one of those things where despite, like, really nice designs, they really don't leave much of a mark in terms of the fight itself, because it really just does boil down to, well, go one of the 4 Bananza modes that you currently have and beat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And you win. And, you know, sometimes you get done with these bosses within 30 to 45 seconds.
You know, and that's fine, though, because I'm not one of these people who are, like, necessarily looking for, like, the best boss fights ever in any platform game. It's, like, Banjo-Kazooie, at least before Bananza, my favorite 3D platformer of all time, didn't really have boss fights, aside from Gruntilda, you know? You can make the argument, Conga was a boss fight, or a Nipper was a boss fight, you know, but really, like, Banjo-Tooie had boss fights. So I don't need boss fights even in a 3D platformer. And so the fact that they are, like, not the most challenging thing, I mean, there are some that might give you a bit of a time in Bananza later on, but, like, it doesn't bug me that much. And maybe that's just me simping for this game. Oh, look at me being so uncritical about Bananza. Oh, I'm just such a shill. I'm just such a whore for Donkey Kong. Taking crystal dildo.
I mean, I can easily hand wave away, like, the bosses not being much, just because I do love this game so much. Like, it's something that I wish maybe gave me a little bit more challenge, maybe a little bit more, like, a bit more of a challenge, but at the same time, like, it's not so easy that it's actively hurting the game, you know?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, the bosses could be harder, but who cares? This game's so fucking good already that it doesn't even matter.
Right. Well, Pika Bruiser, however long it takes you, probably not long, you defeat it. Whatever powers it is destroyed, opens up the sinkhole. And then, of course, you can have another chat with Grumpy, who is pouting again. Oh, poor Grumpy. You've really, really upset him. What does Grumpy say in this, like, parting dialogue?
Well, actually, he's not mad that you beat the Pika Bruiser. He actually just stepped on a nail, and he's, like, really trying to tough out the pain this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't see it, but once you jump down the sinkhole, like, he's, like, slowly trying to, like, take it out of his foot, and, like, while it's, like, slowly coming out, he's like, ow, 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 and you can, like, sort of just hear it, like, slipping out. It's not fun for him.
Luckily,
but I will tell you,
the nail went into a giant cyst on the bottom of his foot, so it had the benefit of draining all that pus and fluid.
He was also, like, blowing on it to try and, like, get it to stop, but, you know, he's got to really run back to the pay dirt pile with Void and Poppy before it gets infected.
Right, but then also when he was blowing on it, he squirted a bit of pus in his mouth.
And he's like, ew, ew. He tries eating some of the dirt to, like, get it out of his mouth.
Yeah, but it's just giraffe dust.
Yeah. But what he says is, I fine-tuned, souped up, streamlined, but I was still no match for you. You two ain't half bad, you know that? And sorry for... Oh, hold on. Our next scrape's gonna be the one, though. I can feel it. I'll finish the job next time. You can bet your entire life savings on it. So that was Grumpy going through about 3 different voices there. But something I really enjoy about this section is that it kind of almost feels like Grumpy's really starting to respect you and Pauline. Like you can kind of feel him starting to waver a little bit on his like unfound allegiance to Void Kong.
Yeah, that and he's kind of just checking out. Like at this point, he has 1001 layers beneath the Earth's surface, and he's got nothing to show for it. He's being like bested time and time again. He's filthy. He's in a landfill. He's got infected pus boil on his foot. Yeah, like, at this point, I'd be like, yeah, like, what are we doing here? Like, sunk cost fallacy and all that, but maybe it's time to pull up stakes, both figuratively and literally, and just go home.
But now without trying one more time, he's really got that competitive spirit in him. He's like, I know if I just put myself out this one more time, I know I can beat him.
Also,
at this point, it doesn't even feel like he's doing it for Void Kong. It feels like he's doing it for a personal matter, just so that he can, like, show that he can defeat DK.
Also, I know, like, Grumpy, he's, like, a brilliant inventor, but, you know, he kind of reads as kind of gruff and a little bit uncouth. But I'm like, you can bet your entire life savings on it. Like, for one, like, what bougie asshole has life savings these days? Like, who's not living paycheck to paycheck unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth or a silver spoon from the Lagoon Layer? Like, come on, especially to Donkey Kong and Pauline. One is a 13-year-old girl. The other is a gorilla who, yeah, is a bit of a Nepo baby, to be fair. But at the same time, I don't think has much in the way of monetary goods. I mean, he hoards bananas. That's his life savings. That must be one hell of a 401k that Voidco has going there for retired uppers executives. Yeah, which is probably why Grumpy Kong wants to stick with it this long. It's because, yeah, he's actually getting some financial security, which in this day and age is few and far between. And the people who have the most financial security usually procure it through the most unethical means. So there you go.
He's like, you know, this isn't the best work, but at the same time, it's the only place that offers me healthcare and PTO. Yeah. So, like, I kind of, like, feel like I should just, like, try to, like, stiff it out a little bit more, see if I can maybe work things out.
Yeah, I know. Like, people have to compromise their morals sometimes, and it's absolutely terrible. Poor Grumpy Kong. There's your social commentary for the episode. Thank you for sticking with all the diaper and cum sock discussion to get to the life lesson. Andre,
so what are your final thoughts?
Just Andre says, Donkey's Gen X, he's fine. It's Diddy and Pauline and the resident millennial and Zoomer who have to worry. And Freezer says, you're saying that to the guy who made 2 international trips in 1 year. Referring to you. And, well, it's like, you blew your savings for that, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've already established, though, in the first episode that we did this year that we are high rich philanthropists, remember?
Oh, sorry. I can only remember the intricacies of Donkey Kong canon. I can't remember the Kongversation canon.
No, we need a wiki for that, definitely.
Yeah,
or, you know, some sort of website or forum. But who's to say where we find those nowadays?
Okay. To be fair, the DK Vine forum does not listen to the podcast. They don't even read the main site. They just ignore everything but the forum. So, good luck there.
before we jump into calls, I do want to mention that this is another one of those layers that once you finish it, you get a new piece of artwork on the loading screen. And, you know, some part of me kind of wishes that as nice and quick as the loading times are in this game, I almost kind of wish they were maybe a little bit longer just so I could look more at the art. Because
you could take a screenshot of it every time it pops up, and then you could have it forever.
That's true. But this artwork is, I'm pretty sure it's from Shigehisa Nakaway. And he's even done, like, DK stuff in the past, right? He was on the Payon games.
I'm not sure about that. I know he's done it for the theme park and a lot of, like, merchandise. But
he's like the main Mario artist nowadays.
Yeah.
But like his artwork is always so nice. It's so good. Like all the loading screens in this game, just like the new ones you get, or like they're just so perfect. And I really like the one here because it's just like it's just a picture of the eel family, just like the mama eel, one of the little elevators, and like an eeling, just like. Sort of in a loving little embrace. There's just such a warmth to his like artwork and like the colors that he chooses.
It's not just a loving embrace though, because if you notice, it looks like the Lil Eeling. Because we know like the elevators, beyond just burrowing, they can seemingly phase through matter. And we see the Lil Eeling, not the Lil Elevator. I'm just mean the little Eeling seems to have phased through the mama elevator's stomach like a little kangaroo Joey.
Oh, I was gonna say like a chest bursting scene.
See, I was still in the wholesome and sweet kick, and you just went to the gruesome crime scene. Not enough characters have been hypothetically eviscerated on this episode for your taste. You wanted the mama elevator dead as well.
We've had dead giraffe. We've had dead elephants. We were talking about how Cranky could die at any moment. Mm-hmm. It's just all out for blood on this episode.
Yeah, it's not so much the landfill layer, it's the graveyard. But yeah, normally I don't talk about the sinkhole falls after, because I said, spoilers only to Sublayer 101, but here we are, it's like Sublayer 1051. I'm breaking my vow, but it is you already brought this up, so I feel safe bringing it up. There is that little conversation then, or conversation. I mean, it is a conversation technically. It is a conversation with a Kong. Pauline ruminates on the eels, the Eelevators and the Eelings, and she says, that layer was super deep, huh? She means profound, because it really makes one think about the nature of life and death and disgusting bodily infections. But she says, I'm glad those little eelings were there to guide us. There's supposed to be a way, way, way bigger eel digging around down here too. What do you think it looks like? A hugified eeling might be cute? I just hope it's as friendly as the rest of them. And when that moment happened, I was like, hey, Pauline, do you remember the Bananza Direct? Because I think you're doing a great job with the ominous foreshadowing here.
Hey, Pauline, spoilers much?
Hey, Pauline.
I'm trying to play through this game and you're trying to tell me something that happens in it? A little rude, don't you think?
Yeah. Hey, Pauline, why don't you just tell me what the next 3 fossils are going to be? I can't wait to have that ruined for me. Anyway.
You've already ruined the mood. Just let us free fall another 30 feet.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next layer.
I think you made a joke about this on the Idaho crew stream. But I haven't brought this up yet, but seeing the screenshot of the sinkhole fall here, I have to just make mention of it. It's kind of hilarious that you get 2 options when you fall. You can break, Donkey Kong just like steals himself while he's skydiving without the parachute, or if you want to break like concrete or stone or gold, you can punch downward. And like it actually says A, punch downward. And I'm like, Donkey Kong, you shouldn't be punching downward. Like, I know there's so many comedians nowadays like who like to punch downward and they think that's what comedy is. But that is not the spirit of comedy. Comedy is always punching upwards. It's always taking on the unscrupulous power of those that consider themselves the elite, our betters. What are you doing, Donkey Kong? What are you doing? You've lost your way, just like so many Gen Xers.
DK's getting really big into those Netflix specials, and it's really concerning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they tell it like it is. Okay.
He's just doing it like it is. You're just too scared to face the truth.
Nobody would lie or joke about it. Anyways, Hyle, we got some calls today?
No wonder Diddy doesn't hang out with him anymore. Jesus.
He's like, listen, I've done some things in the past with him, but we are no longer affiliated.
He was a different guy before the pandemic, I swear.
You know,
it broke his brain.
I don't agree with him, but I do think I can maybe change his mind still.
All right, yeah, you're right. We do have some calls to take. We actually got more calls for this episode than we got for the Tempest layer, which kind of shocked me, honestly. Because typically it had been the medium-sized layers we get less calls for. And then we started getting less calls for the Tempest layer, and I was like, oh, people are just losing interest in this format. But then we got more calls than Tempest layer, so I'm like, oh, people just really love digging through other people's garbage. That's what I'm learning here.
I know I do.
I mean, if I have latex gloves on, you know, if I can shower afterwards, maybe. But
you've just got to raw dog it, you know. You just got to jump in like a Scrooge McDuck-sized pile of money and go at it.
Okay.
There's no harm except probably getting infected.
Yeah, and, you know, probably getting maggots burrowing underneath your skin. Let's take our first call.
Yeah.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Hyle. This is Crawlnax calling in for the Landfill layer. And if there's one thing I would describe Landfill as, it's honestly kind of relaxing. You know, the entire thing is basically one straight shot down, which means you can move at a relatively brisk pace, but you're still not at risk of, like, overlooking something. It's really relatively easy to get all the collectibles, all of the Banandium gems your heart could desire. And I believe this is the first, like, proper layer I fully completed. I got all the bananas on my first try. I'm not counting the Divine Injunction there because there's like 20 a piece or something like that. And that's because I didn't have to, like, constantly check over my own shoulder. I could just, you know, sort of comb up and down. And if anything, it was a more relaxing experience for me than the resort layer. So I guess if I have to face the question of whether I would go to a tropical beach or a, you know, big pile of dirt and garbage, I know my answer. I'm sticking with the garbage. I'm a garbage boy. I think this layer also speaks to the strength of challenge rooms as a format. And this has been a very popular trend in games recently. Breath of the Wild has shrines. Mario Odyssey has very similar challenge rooms, obviously. And there's been, like, a fair amount of complaints about these. You know, that, like, compromises open world design principles too much. That's, like, breaking up the gameplay. It's, like, relying too much on linear things and, like, supposedly open platformers or games to give a sense of, like, good mechanical challenge. But I think the flexibility is something to recommend them. Is Pauline, the reasons they're so popular. I think quick service treats is a big highlight here. In that I can't think of another way that you would combine, like, the Landfill layer's overall gimmick of, like, going straight down with the little ice cream chip things from the freezer layer. You probably couldn't have worked that in without the challenge room format. I want to end off with a little bit of clarification for myself. I called in on Tempest, and I said that I would have preferred Bluster Kong over Bluster Wing, you know, a little bit of playing with words, and you said that you wouldn't want to wade into spoilers. I was not trying to give any spoilers. I was just saying, in this isolated incident, I would rather have Bluster Kong than Bluster Wing. I wouldn't try to hint at any involvement Bluster Kong might have later in the game. Just like Bluster, I am benevolent, and I would never do that to you. Thank you for taking the call.
Well, thank you for the call, trash boy.
A little a little too late. You've already let the cat out of the bag, or the bluster out of the barrel factory in this case,
And
There's
I already
not much else we
established
can do about it.
I already established that the singing Bluster Wing is Bluster Kong, just they had to change the character because Nelvana has the rights to the one from the cartoon. So, as I said, it's an improvement, in my opinion. But, yeah, it's a good point. It's funny that you found it so relaxing, because I found this... Like, I really, really love this world. I do. But I did find it... kind of surreal and a little bit unsettling at times. And maybe it was Pauline screaming every time the peekaboo poids popped out. Maybe that has something to do with it. But it's also just, I think it's just how your brain might be wired versus mine. Because for me, it was, up until we got to Trashtopia, it was very claustrophobic. It was very confined. It was like, there is an absence of nature here. And that is what I gravitate to as an aesthetic. Now, this is fun. This is a fun experience to be in, and that sense of displacement, I think, really serves the narrative and serves what Donkey Kong and Pauline are feeling during it. So I really, really liked it, but yeah, I wasn't relaxed until I got to Trashtopia.
So something that I really do like that was brought up is that, like, I think this is one of the only layers that has, like, a real verticality to it, kind of like what Cronex was saying. Like, if you want to, you can just go straight down, you know? Like, if that's what you want to do, you can just immediately go straight from the top, straight down, with very little, like, intervention from anything, or even, like, real detours,
Yeah.
Like... Well, like I said earlier in this podcast, I spent like 2 to 3 hours here trying to 100% everything, get all the fossils, get all the challenges, Banandium gems, all that stuff. Andrew, Special Agent Ape, he just went full elephant right down. Just took the big old tusk and trunk and just vacuumed his way to the next layer. And like... I still really admire that about this game, that like you really can play it any way you want to, Yeah, there's something for this.
You can be a deviant freak like me who spends 5 days in the trash soaking it all up and just appreciating every little detail nuance. And if that's not you, if that kind of style of gameplay mortifies you, you can just speed through it too. And I think that is what's brilliant and why so many people are singing this game's praises. It's because it really just bends itself and allows for each individual playstyle. Yeah,
definitely. And, I was kind of a middle person in this. I didn't take 4 days, but I definitely did feel like I took my time, and, I liked looking around and seeing like what exactly was on the ground aside from like just little pieces of debris and wood, but just like it was something I really enjoyed just looking at for a while, were just like the little areas where you would continue to dig down would usually like sort of be in the shape of like an elevator built out of trash.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you were digging your way through like an elevator itself. And it's just such a nice little touch that you have that like you can just appreciate or just, go on your way. It's one of those things that I just really admire about this game and how it presents itself.
Everything about the environments, they're so like carefully considered that it's no wonder this game took so many years to make.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's still like connecting with like a lot of other things because of how they like just put other things from the other layers. They just add. It's just that thing again that we talk about, just adding that little bit of context to show like, yeah, things from other layers fall down here. You're gonna see a lot of stuff from the past layers just pop up here, get washed up. People taking their trash here. It just makes it feel that much more lived in.
Yeah, and like the snow cone making challenge courses which have popped up. Like, we haven't talked about it since Freezer Layer, but it has been something that's popped up, and I like that it popped up here. And yeah, like, to the point, the fact that you had to dig the path for this little ice crystals falling down to get to land in the container is really, really clever. It's just a really clever combination of, like, aspects of two different layers, like, and two different styles of playing this game just blending together so seamlessly.
I agree.
I agree as well. Thank you so much for the call. Let's play, apropos for Landfill Layer, call number 2, because it's like the poo in the diapers, you see. It's just smelly.
Hey, Kongversation, this is Just Andre calling in to talk about Landfill Layer. The impression I get from the discussions of the game I've seen is that this is one of the levels people tend to be less passionate about, even when it comes to the game's smaller layers, which is weird for me because Landfill Layer is kind of one of my pet favorites. So, complimenting Bananza on its pacing is cliche by this point in the podcast, but in Landfill Layer's case, there's more to it than just like alternating between the small layers and the full-size layers. For one, we've seen Bananza's opening few levels establish everything the game entails, we've seen that the middle levels twist and deepen all those aspects, and we know that the game's going to want to end on sure footing by drawing together the core of what's preceded it in a way that is very cohesive and focused. So for that very particular window between the mid and late game, where the game's need for absolute cohesion is arguably at its lowest, and where the player's demand for just straight novelty is going to be at a premium, it behooves the design to take the opportunity to branch itself out a little and kind of test the boundaries of what sorts of experiences the game's building blocks might be used to provide. So considering what Bananza's big mechanical selling point is, it only makes sense to have at least one level where you dial down the standard platforming and, in as much as the mechanics allow, just kind of throw the game into Minecraft for a little while. It's great. Despite its selling point, Donkey Kong Bananza is at its core still a platformer, and platformers are about navigating a space. So to have a level where not only did I just not have to feel guilty for once whenever I destroyed part of my surroundings, but where the destruction mechanics are actually reconfigured into your explicit means of level traversal in place of the traditional platforming mechanics, was just a really wonderful shakeup. And as far as the other way that Landfill Layer serves the game's pacing in a unique way goes, Bananza's second act is very focused on the animal societies in a way that the first and third acts are not. You meet the zebras and the ostriches back to back, and then the Void Kong fight in the resort layer, which is again just a mini-sized level, are the only interruptions you get before you're then sent straight on to meet the elephants. You contrast that to Landfill Layer, which not only focuses on the Fractones, which several layers have done already, but it puts the spotlight back on the Eelevators for the only time since their introduction. In other words, even though it's being done in a very different way here, we again see Bananza employing novelty specifically as a pacing device. So by taking place at this point in the game, Landfill Layer marks the point where Bananza begins to gradually redirect the player's attention back to the actually native inhabitants and properties of the underground world as we start to draw closer and closer to the core. Food for thought.
So long as that food for thought isn't dirt. Thank you for the call.
I
just
think
Andre.
I've had enough of eating dirt.
Yeah. We need a palate cleanser after this. I think we get one, actually, thinking about what the next layer is. But yeah, like, very, very articulate, well thought out points. I don't really have much to contribute that could improve upon what you just said.
I will say, I feel like not just this layer. I feel like most of the game has that Minecraft feel to it. You know, just the destructible environments themselves. You know.
You know what?
Just to give
Piss
that
off.
feeling.
You know, I don't care if it feels like Minecraft. Well, you know what Minecraft stole from Donkey Kong Country? Mine carts. So you know what? Turnabout's fair play, bitches. And you know what? You know what else? You know what else about Minecraft? You know what else about Minecraft?
What else would you like to talk about? DKU game Minecraft, Hyle?
Yeah, it's DKU. You know why? Because Donkey Kong appeared in it. Because Diddy Kong appeared in it. Because Banjo-Kazooie Conker appeared in it. 2D lived in Minecraft when she was missing. So you know what? I think that Minecraft owes more of a debt to the DKU for propping it up all these years and making it popular with all the young folk, the Eelings and little Eelevators of the world. It owes such a monumental debt to the DKU that it will never be acknowledged by the mainstream video game historians. But here at DK Vine, we realign things for their proper balance. The DKU is up here. Minecraft has dug a hole way down here in terms of importance and influence. So what? So Bananza has some digging in it, has some terrain destruction in it. Okay, yeah, good. I guess that's in Minecraft too. Whatever.
Yeah, Mojang. We'll be waiting for your apology when you're ready. You know, we don't want to put too much pressure, but once you're ready to apologize, we'll be here to accept that on behalf of the DKU.
By the way, if you become a DK Vine patron for $2 and up a month, you have access to the DK Vinecraft server.
You could tell us in Minecraft, literally in Minecraft if you wanted to.
So, to show you how dedicated I am to never ending anything, that was instituted by Chad when he was still on site staff, and he really got into Minecraft, and he just wanted to incorporate Minecraft into everything. And so, in the almost 10 years since, I have kept it going despite having so little interest in Minecraft, just because I'm like, well, it's a thing. And it's going to keep being a thing. $7.99 a month.
It's a thing that we kind of go back to every couple of years to try and, spruce it up, kind of fancy it up. Make it a bit appealing to the others.
Yeah.
Much like a banana peel that you would find in the landfill layer.
This is why I've got to be careful, though, about what I get started, because I can never say that's enough. Like, all of my joke URLs that I have for DK Vine, deadhamsterman.com, I renew that every year because I started it and I can't let it go. GameBest.computer, exploitdungeon.com. What are we doing here? Why? What is my life?
GamesBest.computer is still my favorite.
Oh, I mean, it's the best thing that's ever been on DK Vine. So that's worth the money. I'm not sure why I renew Blast Corpse every year. So I have 2 fake URLs that are just bottles jokes. Dead bottles jokes. What the fuck? All right. Thank you for the call, just Andre. One more call. And then we're going to wrap this up with some final thoughts about the landfill layer. So we're taking out the trash, literally.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Hello, Hyle and Adam. It is Courtney. I'm calling once again in the middle of the night, and I just had to call to talk about one of my very favorite layers, the landfill layer. Now, this layer probably has the biggest gulf between first impression and how much I ended up liking it, because I expected Layer 1000 to be something like really cool and mind-blowing and awesome. And then when I first got down here, I was like, this is literally nothing. Like, they didn't even try. But, as I literally dug deeper, I really kind of started to become fascinated with it. But I think it wasn't until I came back later to do cleanup that I really fell in love with it. It's just a literal sandbox. You just get to dig around and use the elephant bonanza and just kind of like go through until you find buried treasure, and I think it's delightful. But what I like most about it is this little society of fractones and eels that have made living here out of the detritus, much like the lagoon layer monkeys are making a living out of like stuff that comes down from the surface of the ocean from beneath. Like, these are making a living out of like the detritus from the rest of the underground world that kind of seeps down through various sinkholes and what have you, and winds up here in the landfill layer. And I think it's very interesting how they sort of probably don't know what all this stuff is and they recontextualize it to their own needs. And my favorite little anecdote or little example, I guess, is there is a gourd from the canyon layer that looks like a giraffe head, but they have it set up in this like little nook on display by itself, and they have it set up like on its end, so you can't even tell it's a giraffe head at all. It just looks like this little fat little guy that's kind of maybe like something they would be worshiping or something, just a little statue that looks like a little fat man with the nostrils have become like eyes instead. I talked about this like with Adam before. He might know what I'm talking about, but it's just really cute, and it sort of is the example of how like down here they're just picking up the trash from everybody else, and they probably don't even know what it is, but they're just like having fun with it and making the best out of what they find. And I just think it's really endearing. The music is really good. Kind of reminds me of Mining Melancholy, also known as cannons clanking with the sort of more onomatopoeia type percussion. Yeah, I just wanted to say that this layer is really charming for me, and I appreciate it a lot, even though it seemed like it was kind of nothing much at first. I'm probably running out of time, but hope you're having fun. I probably won't be able to listen to this one live, so I will catch it later. Bye.
Well, thank you for the call, Courtney. Yeah, that's a great point about the little giraffe head gourds.
That's one of the things I love. She was mentioning it, but like the photo mode in this game is so fun. Like you can just stop anywhere you want to and slap a pair of Fractone eyes onto anything, and like you kind of just get like an instant gag for anything, and it's so fun to do that, even with something as silly as like a tiny little giraffe gourd. Just like it's kind of like not only have we already talked about this kind of just like taking your time and just like soaking it all in, but just also like making your own fun as you go along, whether that's putting Fractone eyes on a gourd or like trying to smash 3 of every type of material before moving on.
By the way,
it's just
by doing that, I've provided something that will also give you an instant gag.
But yeah, I also very much I also very much agree with her assertion that it really does feel like a layer that at first seems like there's kind of just nothing in it. But it's like there really is a lot to like take in and like sort of think about with this layer, because just they just have they just give you so much context and so much to think about, not just with like the things that sink down here, but like we've talked about before, the relationship between the sorry about that. The relationship between the Fractones
not gagging,
and the Eelings. No, not gagging. Just got a little irpy there.
I was like, we're almost done with the podcast if you want to go down that route, but like not on the air, please.
But yeah, there's just so many little things, just the relationship between the Fractones and the Eelings and the Eelevators and the Blusterwing. And it's just such a fascinating sublayer, where it cut, for some people it will just kind of feel like a side thing or just not that much, but like I don't know, this feels like a really important layer that is just like chock full of really fun stuff to discover if you take your time. And that's
full of chalk, maybe.
Yeah. What do you think, Hyle?
Well, I completely agree. You say like it feels like this world has nothing on the surface level, and like that's actually the way it's presented when you first drop in there. You're just dropped into this big open pit with like absolutely nothing besides dirt and the walls of the upper chamber. And yeah, it's like a literal presentation of the deeper you dig, the more you discover. And yeah, that's kind of brilliant. It just works on both like the literal level and the figurative like ways that they hide so much depth and lore and discovery in this layer. Thank you for the call, Courtney, by the way. It was a great call. Just Andre, who is with us in the live stream chat, does have more to add upon Courtney's call and also adding to their own. I didn't have space to mention it in my call, but another reason I like this layer so much is what you touched upon earlier. I think the reason a lot of people are more lukewarm on this layer is because they share your sense that one of the only levels in the game that's actually trying to feel like it's underground is claustrophobic. But I'm the opposite. I'm not agoraphobic, but I feel comforted specifically when placed in an indoor enclosed space. Maybe my autistic brain feels rested by the relative sensory deprivation. So for me, even the non-Trashtopia portion of Landfill Layer is up with the likes of Resort Layer when it comes to layers that feel welcoming and cozy. Well, I mean, the Fractones agree with you down in Trashtopia. So, I mean, there's something to it. And again, it's a great example of how Bananza is for everyone. For me, Resort Layer was the comforting one because I was drinking fruit juices and, being surrounded by tropical tranquility. For other people, you're drinking Fruitopia, which has been in the trash for 30 years. And that can be comforting too, if that's the way you are acclimated to the world. So, I think this diversity of opinion on just this one world, just this really like one layer, one sub-layer, and then a little boss fight underneath it, it's really just a small sliver of what Bananza is providing and opening up for so many gamers right now. Everybody is feeling different things, having different impressions, mostly all positive, and yet it's all valid. We're all getting something different out of this game. It's almost like a game that's somehow tailor-made for everybody, which you would think would just be a recipe for disaster, but it's somehow found a way to make it work, and that's worthy of more exploration as we get closer to the game's end, for sure. I love Landfill Layer. I won't say it's one of my favorite worlds, but it might actually be up there. I did certainly spend enough time in it doing absolutely nothing but shattering crystal and bringing down crates held up with glue gum, and I had a great time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we did a pretty good job on this episode. Say, Hyle, what's in store next time? Who's going to be joining you for the next fantastic Bananza episode?
Well, about that, it's funny you brought it up at the top of the episode because there has been a reoccurring theme on the episodes you've been on as of late, where we talk about just the unfortunate reality of the video game industry in the year 2025. And, well, I wanted to get a full day's work out of you before I broached this, but unfortunately, due to the harsh economic realities that we find ourselves in, I'm going to have to let the entire Idaho crew go. You have until the end of this episode to clean out the crystal dildos from your desk.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.